Good evening and welcome to the Georgetown School Committee meeting of Tuesday, August 27th. We'll start off the meeting. I'll be entertaining a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes approval of minutes for regular session minutes of 7:25:13, budget and finance minutes of 7:23:13, acceptance of warrants 07V14, 09V14, 06P14, 08P14.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on any of the agenda items? Okay, we're gonna move right along to the introduction of our new food services director.
Yeah, so Heather, come on up, if you don't mind. Joan, you can certainly feel free to, speak about Heather if you'd like, but we did put some information in the packet. And everyone, this is Heather Torrey, right?
Nice to meet you.
We did include Heather's resume. And I know Joan put a lot of time into searching for Heather, and Pam was, graciously helped, as did Margaret Marr. And, we weren't really sure what to expect, because it was kind of late notice, but it was just great to see that Heather, I think you were the last one that was interviewed, is that right? Yeah.
Yes.
So, it was great and I had a chance, because I had to go in for some reason, so I actually directed the interview and got a chance to meet her. So I was very happy to learn more from listening to the search committee about Heather's qualifications. And as it turns out, small world, I know her aunt from Western Massachusetts. I found out after the fact when she emailed me and said, "You made a great choice, you hired my niece." So, I'm really.
She did that after?
She did that after. We had no, I don't know, you must have told her that you were going to Georgetown, and she must have made the connection that she remembered me.
Her husband actually grew up in Georgetown.
There you go. So they have some history there in Georgetown. So it was meant for her to be here. So I don't know, Joan, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I just want to add that we did get 20 resumes, and I went through them all. We interviewed 7.
Yes.
7. We spent a long time, with each candidate, and Heather clearly rose right to the top. And her background is just what we're looking for, bringing in all the nutritional guidelines, the federal guidelines, and hopefully quickly changing our menus. Menus will stay the same for the month of September, because Heather just really started yesterday. But our plan is to move to more from scratch cooking, and we just made another great hire for our cook manager at the high school. Heather and I interviewed yesterday.
Yeah, I met her today. She's really enthusiastic and
Right, so
a lot of great ideas.
we're really hoping to be able to really develop the program, increase participation. We had a long conversation about increasing participation for our faculty. We talked about implementing salad bars, and Heather just had a lot of great information. She's a recent grad from the master's program for dietetics at UVM, came highly regarded from her coordinator, and did her internship, both a clinical internship and a food service internship, and had worked in a school in Vermont, so I have great confidence.
Yes. That's great.
Yes.
Yeah, she was there tonight when we went for the school tour.
Yeah.
And she was there at 7 o'clock this morning, I understand, too.
Probably be there at 6 tomorrow.
That's great.
Yeah.
Just want to welcome you, and I'm so pleased that you accepted our offer, and your enthusiasm and passion for cooking and for providing food to all of our students, and your familiarity with all of the government regulations and guidelines and restrictions, and but still that you're going to put forth a quality product, and you're very well qualified. You have a master's degree as a dietitian, and your whole record at University of Vermont is very impressive. Dean's List, very high GPA here, awards. You have an award, the Blair Williams Award, presented to the student who best exemplifies high professional standards, broad range of professional interests, and deep concern for people. And we could see all of that in your interview. So
Thank you.
we're very pleased that you're here. Thank you.
I'm very excited to be here.
And of course, one of the first tasks we gave her is that she needs to make lunch and breakfast for all of the teachers and the faculty and staff in the first day of school on September 3rd. So that's not a small task, for somebody who's just coming in, right off the bat. But she's
She'll be able to
said,
hit the
I can
ground
handle
running."
this, and we'll take care of it. And so off she's going to go on that task.
That's
Did you have anything that you wanted to say, Heather? You certainly don't have to make a speech or anything, but
I just would like to thank everybody for having me today, and I am completely excited to work with the Georgetown School District to further our vision towards providing healthier foods for kids
great.
and faculty.
Yeah.
And Could I just say, we also hope to revitalize the Georgetown Health and Wellness Advisory Committee
That's
this
right.
year, and we look forward to your participation in that, and I'm sure it'll be a vital little group that will get together and make some good progress and have a community discussion about what our community really, believes is important and wants to serve up to our children, as well as the other areas of health and wellness that we discuss.
I just found some files in the office today, actually, before you all made your rounds, so I'm looking through the Health and Wellness Committee papers now.
Oh, good.
Yeah, one of the
That's
things we
great.
would want to have you look at is the survey results that we did a survey a
Yes,
couple
we
of
did.
years
We've done
ago.
survey
and,
results.
there was some interesting information from that survey, and we were going to want to do
Yes.
that again because we want
Definitely.
more current survey information. And one of the things that I really would love to see us do is to have focus groups with the students. The
Yes.
principals and a couple of the teachers at the middle high school did do some focus groups with some of the kids, some of the groups, and I think they found out some also very interesting things. So we can certainly build on that, and but I want to make sure you get a hold of that, just so you see
Absolutely.
where that was. So if you can't get your hand on it, you be happy to email me, and I'll be happy to get it for you.
Sure, thank you.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you,
Heather,
welcome.
Welcome. What you do is so wicked important, so important. You know it better than anybody. And I wish you all the best, and we're
Thank
really
you.
fortunate to have you here.
I'm very excited to be here, so thank you much.
All right. Thank you very much. Welcome. Okay, perfect.
Okay, so we'll move right along, and we made a decision on the assistant principal at the middle high school, so.
Yep, so Heidi, come on
Monjo.
up, and Peter, do you wanna come too? So, I don't know, I mean, some of you
Hello,
know Heidi
welcome.
Monjo, but
Oh,
others
yes,
of you may
yes.
not know her. Heidi has, we did include Heidi's resume also for you, just for your information, so you can see her qualifications, but, Heidi's been in the district, she was a graduate of Georgetown High School, so, one of our graduates is
couple years
highly successful, a couple of years
special,
ago.
yes.
Is highly successful, and she's, had the opportunity to teach both at the middle and high school levels, which we thought was a huge advantage to Heidi in this role, because she has she knows the developmental spectrum of students at both of those ages, and she has some familiarity with staff at both of those age groups. So we're excited about that. She also teaches at the college level. So one of the things that I've always appreciated about Heidi is her extensive knowledge of instruction, teaching and learning. That's why we open our doors every day. And one of the things that we really want our assistant principals to be well versed in, as is the case with our administrators of all levels, is the focus on instruction and making sure that our students are getting the best education possible. So we're excited to have Heidi join the team. So Peter, I don't know if you wanted to make any comments on, Peter's had a lot of time to work with Heidi, so.
She's obviously, this is the ultimate of hiring from within, a graduate of Georgetown High School. But Heidi did an internship with me all last year and showed me that she has a wealth of potential, and her passion for kids and education and the art of teaching is just amazing. So we're very happy to have her. And again, as Carol said, she has a lot of experience in both, actually more in the middle school than the high school. So that was a big plus when we were making our decision. So we think she's just going to be great. And we're happy to have
We
her.
needed a mentor program, so we said, who could do a
Couldn't
mentor
agree more.
program? Heidi did the mentor program, put the whole thing together and worked on it. We needed somebody to teach a course for our new teachers. Heidi stepped up and taught the course for the new teachers. So it's never been a question in my mind in all the time I've known Heidi that she's a leader and that this is just a perfect opportunity. I'm very excited I think
I'm
I
honored.
used to talk to her about leadership when I first met her, and she's, I'm not ready, I'm not ready, I'm not ready. So the fact that she's
you
now
saw
ready,
that,
I'm very
yeah.
excited about.
The fact that you saw that in her.
Yes, early on,
speaks
right? We,
volumes.
remember we had conversations pretty early on. So, you know, to me, I look at, I think, you know, Heidi will provide stability in that position, which has been a very serious concern, of people, here. And, you know, I think, you know, between she, Guy, and Peter, I think they'll be a very dynamic and very positive team for the middle high school. I'm very grateful that she took the job and that we've had the opportunity to hire her.
A few people have asked me if you're still gonna do the dance team.
Um,
Like,
I've-
I don't
I've
know if that would be.
petitioned, likely candidates that's
over.
interested, so,
She could
But-
mentor somebody.
yeah.
It's actually a union position, so administrators can't take GEA positions unless there's no one. We would have to ask the GEA. So if no one steps up and she has time and the GEA agrees, I'll probably say no.
Well, that's been such a great program.
It has.
It has.
Hopefully
We won't
it'll
let
stay.
it go away.
Yeah,
Believe me.
good.
We'll make
Yeah.
sure we get somebody
Yeah,
in there.
Yeah, we're currently
And
looking
I'd
for a
be
mentor
happy to
coordinator.
consult
Yeah.
with whatever's needed,
Okay.
so.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. I'm very excited. I think it's gonna be a great year. Guy, I think, you know, how you handled the whole process was great. And I think the school committee, I think we all agree that with Guy in the position and then you, I think it's just gonna be a really great year. And I think people have that confidence that
Good.
we're doing the best that we can, especially at the middle school level where there has been such turnover. So I think I think people are gonna be happy.
Well, I'm really, I can't tell you how excited and honored I am.
Oh,
I'm
that's
just, it's surreal, but I'll be here for as long as you'll have me, so. Thanks again.
Excellent.
Great to hear. Well, welcome Heidi, and thank you.
Congratulations, welcome,
Thank you, Peter. All right, great.
Okay. So we, at this time, we would like to ask Joe Susi. Come on up.
Chris DeFranco's coming
And
with
Chris
him, I think.
DeFranco, great.
Holding your hand, okay. I don't know you as the type that needs your hand held usually, Joe.
I don't think so. Is she here? Oh, okay. We can call Mrs. Gibbs up too, is that okay?
Oh,
I
yeah,
didn't know
sir.
she was here.
Colleen, sure, is Colleen here?
Come on up. There
Oh,
she
come
is.
on up, Colleen. Absolutely. You can have as many as you want.
Wow. A lot of pressure now. Here we go.
Thank you for coming, Colleen and Chris, and Joe, of course.
Thank you.
all
So
yours.
I'm here today because we've made an offer to the school district to plant 2 trees outside of the Pembroke School. And we, Pearlie, sorry, getting confused. And we worked with Superintendent Jacobs and the principal and said, what kind of trees do you like? We suggested one, and they went along with that, and that's going to be a non-fruit-bearing pear, which is called a Chanticleer pear. So I just wanted to, we're gonna do 2 of them. I just wanna let you know some of the things that we've done locally. I gave everybody the member magazine, that's the magazine we send to our members, and it has our annual report in it. But the Modern Woodman was founded in 1883 as a fraternal benefit society, which is a not-for-profit financial services organization organized under Chapter 501c8 of the Internal Revenue Code. We have a representative form of government, which means that we're organized into chapters or the lodge system. We elect people in charge of those little organizations, and they send people to convention every 4 years, and they elect the board of directors and vote on bylaws. So it's a representative form. We exist for the benefit of our members, their families, and their communities. And the 3 tenets that we base our organization on are quality family life, community service, and financial security. So tonight we're going to talk about community service. In 2012, we did a matching fund fundraiser with the Georgetown Ipswich Wrestling Club, and we raised, we raffled off a new iPad, and we raised $3,040. So we raised $1,520, and we matched $1,520 for a total of $3,040. We just got done with a fundraiser. Well, not just got done, but right before 4th of July, we partnered up with the Georgetown boys and girls varsity soccer teams. And we put on a clinic for kids from 6 to 10 years old. 9 to 12 was the time. And we raised $1,820, of which we had said we were going to match $1,500. So I have a big check behind me here for $3,320, and we're just finishing up a matching fund with Brides Across America, which is a local charity that gives free wedding gowns to military brides. And we promised to match up to $500 of the funds we raised on what normally we call a 50-50 raffle, but when we do it, actually becomes a 50-100, because the winner gets 50%, but we match what they raise, so it becomes a 50-100. So we've planted trees last year at the Georgetown Peabody Library. We replaced a maple that had died, and we planted one this year at Chanticleer Pear at the Hamilton Wenham Library. We have purchased the wood to rebuild the soccer shooting wall over at West Street. We're still trying to figure out how to rebuild that. We cleaned the lower fields at Pembroke as part of Join Hands Day, which is a national day of service sponsored by the American Fraternal Alliance. We donated 1,500 youth education programs to the Pembroke School. Last year, every child there got a jump rope. Depending on their age, you either got a little pair of pop-up binoculars or a magnifying glass. Teachers got lesson plans and a complete 5-hour individual set of programs for Pembroke, and we donated 2,500 of those to Head Start out of Lawrence. And one of the things in your packet is, and something maybe we hope to do this year in some of the local school systems in the middle schools, is something we call our school speech program.
Yeah, that was interesting.
We sponsor that for middle schools basically across the country, and it goes all the way from a local champion, and we give the school a plaque where we engrave the champion every year. Every child who participates gets a pin. The top 3 finishers get a plaque. It goes to a state champion, then it goes to a regional champion. Here it would be New England. And then those are submitted on DVD or through a YouTube link, and we crown a national champion. And when you get, I think when you get past the local school, there's a monetary award that goes along with the kids too. So they get up without notes, without any little helpers, and they get up and they give a 3 to 5 minute speech, and they get penalized if they're over 5 or under 3, and we get judges from the community. So I'm here so you can accept these pear trees, and I'm also here so I can present Mrs. Gibbs and Mr. DeFranco, if you don't mind, with a check for $3,320.
That's wonderful.
Oh, thank you very much.
So when you did the CAM, the soccer CAM, is it, who teaches the CAM? The
Our
kids?
varsity coaches.
Coach Lott and myself and the high school boys and girls
They come
soccer
in.
players.
Oh, that's great.
So they pretty much.
And does that go towards community service? Could they use that?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe
Good
so.
question.
Yeah.
They would be able to.
Yeah. to
The
work
other,
with them.
the other thing I didn't bring up is we also have something called youth service clubs, where our youth members, they can join this youth service club, and it's really the operative word here is service. Everything the youth service clubs does is service. So we have a youth service club that's run by a woman out of Rowley, and it's only been in existence for about 3 months, and so far they've baked cookies for the Raleigh Police Department, and they've sent letters and care packages to veterans. So we're trying to get more kids involved in that, and we have an over 55 group called the Summit Chapter. So since the Georgetown chapter has already planted its tree in Hamilton Wenham, the Summit Chapter and the Youth Club will be providing the trees.
That's
for-
who's donating that.
Yep,
Okay.
Summit Chapter Youth Club.
Wow, that's wonderful.
On behalf of the athletic department, we really appreciate the help.
At least I can do for the athletic department. We participate with athletics, so I mean,
Yeah,
this we can do.
Yeah, it's
Thank you.
fabulous. Fabulous.
excellent. So do you want to take a picture? Is that what you?
Sure, I want to give them a check and take a picture.
Do you want to?
The big check.
Yeah, yeah, he's got the
Big
big
check.
check.
Yeah.
So maybe you can just stand over there.
Yes,
How-
yes.
I don't know who's gonna,
we have a
Mike can't
camera?
take the picture. Mike's gonna
Mike
take the
is, 'cause I don't
picture.
have to pay
Okay?
him.
Mike is a man of many talents. He takes pictures as well.
Excellent.
So why don't we take the picture and then you can discuss it, whatever you want to discuss. Maybe we should clap or something. Yeah, you have to.
You get to hide behind the check.
There
Big
we
guy
go.
always
Oh,
wants
that's
to
Look
so
at that.
nice.
Well, that's excellent.
Square it out. Flip up, Lee, come here. You gotta flip up the flash. I'll show you. There's a button. There's a button right.
I don't know, I wouldn't.
Sorry.
Oh, is that what we'll have?
Jack likes news.
Well, he got two that maybe we will say. All right, there you go.
I love that.
All right, wonderful. So we'll take the check. And then Joe, why don't you have
Well, I
Steve
delivered the
again,
real
because-
check today.
Oh, you
I got it,
did?
right.
Oh,
I
Joan's
have
got the
it.
real check. Okay,
Great.
well, you can take your check then with you if you'd like.
Now, can I just ask, like, do you have, already in mind what you're gonna do with that money?
Yes. Yeah, so the girls are using it to help supplement new uniforms, which is really exciting. And the boys actually they got new uniforms a few years ago, so they're going to be buying some equipment that they've wanted for a long time for training. So
Nets.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and that's the when we set forth on the fundraiser, any matching fund we do has to be to buy something. It can't be
Right.
for a general fund or anything else, so it has to be with a purpose in mind.
Allocated.
Has to be allocated to a specific purpose.
Right, okay.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's great.
Super.
Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you. Joe, I had a few questions. Thank you very much. That's a
Welcome.
wonderful gesture on the trees as well. And I want to thank you for that. I did have some questions about the trees.
Go ahead.
How big is the caliper on these when they go in?
Well, we have a budget, so the caliper is gonna depend upon, what we can get within our budget. The last one I think we planted, it was, you're talking about diameter?
The diameter of the trunk, 6 inches off the ground.
I think it was only, 2 or 3 inches diameter last time. It's not gigantic.
So
It's gonna be, the last time,
What
the
is- what
last two
is-
we planted were 15 feet tall.
What is the budget for the
We have
each tree?
$400 to spend. We can go over, but we have $400.
And are you guys planting it, or is the
Yeah, we're gonna
nursery
plant
planting
them.
it?
We'll plant them.
well, you
Does
purchase
that-
it from the nursery, right? And
We're gonna
then,
purchase it from a nursery.
Yeah.
They'll deliver it to the school,
yeah.
and we'll plant it as soon as they're delivered.
So does the guarantee continue with it?
I mean, from the nursery?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, pretty sure it does. I don't know, I'll find out. We haven't ordered them yet. We
Yeah.
haven't got approval, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think so, because when you get them delivered to your house, they still, most nurseries still honor. I know we planted some trees.
Yes and no. That
Yeah.
is partially true. If
that'll
a
be a question
contractor
to be
installs
asked.
it, yeah, it's worth asking. If a contractor installs it, it's a guaranteed guarantee.
Oh, that's why you're asking who's installing it?
Yeah, I was curious. Plus, the cost is cut in half, so that
Yeah.
starts to get a larger tree. Did you guys talk about other trees? This is a.
I just made a suggestion because that's what we
Yeah.
planted at Hamilton Wenham, because
Yeah.
it's a hardy tree,
It
it's a
is.
decorative tree. It has a tendency that if somebody salts the sidewalk and they blow the salt over towards the tree, that it's gonna withstand that.
Yeah. It's all
So that
okay.
was one of the reasons, and the tree has a link to education because it's named after one of the characters in a Chaucer poem
Yeah.
called, I think it's The Priest's Nun's Tale or some strange thing where Chanticleer was a very vain rooster. It's also the character in Rockadoodle, the kids' cartoon movie, and it's also an a cappella group. So we thought that was fairly cool.
Done your homework.
Please don't get me wrong.
It's okay.
As this is the profession that I'm in.
Okay, we'll plant whatever tree you guys want.
No, what I wanted to ask is, would you be open to just talking about other trees?
Absolutely.
That maybe,
We'll whatever tree that the school committee and the superintendent wish us to plant,
Yeah.
we will plant. We offered up with a suggestion, and they came back with that tree. Doesn't matter, doesn't matter to me. Or to the Modern Woodmen of America, what tree we plant.
well, that's very gracious, and I appreciate that a lot. And I think I'd like to have that discussion with the board about that.
Okay.
So that would be wonderful.
Perfect.
Sure. That's great. Anybody have any questions?
All right. So you want to accept the donation
Yes.
for the?
The chair will entertain a motion to accept the donation of $3,320 from the Modern Woodmen's Organization as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much.
Thank you
It's
so much.
really a
Thank you,
great,
Joe.
great gift. We appreciate it.
Our pleasure.
Very much.
Well,
Separate donation.
yeah, I think, so, Joe, we're accepting the donation, are we accepting the donation of a monetary donation or the donation of
Two
two
trees.
trees? I
thought it
think,
was
oh,
both.
yeah, 2 trees. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was
But obviously, 2 trees, but the decision about what trees.
What kind of tree? Okay. So the chair will entertain a motion to accept the donation of 2 trees from the Modern Woodman's Organization, with the, saying that we don't
This-
know
Just say
exactly.
the decision on, we
The
can say
decision
with
on
the
the type of
decision on
tree
the
that
type
will
of
be
tree
planted
will be determined.
will be discussed.
This is to be determined.
Okay. As presented.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, great. Thanks again, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we,
We did the sewage service director.
yep.
Okay, and the only other thing I would have under my section would be, just to make sure, draw your attention to, oh, we're not in my section yet, we still have to do the Walker.
Yes.
Yeah, so let's go back to
Mr.
that.
Early?
Yep, yep.
From
So
Walker
come on up.
Partnerships.
Come on
Special
up.
Very
Education
exciting.
Report.
Great. Thanks for your patience.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
May I begin?
Yes, you
Do a little intro?
Yes,
My name is
Thank
Jim
you.
Early, Managing Director of Walker Partnerships, which is a division of Walker. They've been in operation for 52 years. They operate a day and residential special needs program school in Needham, and an alternative high school called Beacon High School, which is located in Watertown. The division that I manage, our sole mission is to help public schools, educational collaboratives, to build the capacity to keep children in district. So we do a number of services for public schools. We provide staffing around joint program development with school districts. Last year, we had 30 staff working in 14 different school systems in the eastern part of Massachusetts. We do a fair amount of professional development for school districts, a variety of topics and a variety of levels, general education, special education, and more recently, we've been doing a lot of training with paraprofessionals. We provide case consultation to school districts around stuck cases or difficult cases. We do a lot of case assessment work for school districts and helping them formulate plans in order to move forward on issues related to students and their needs. We do program development work, program consultation work, and we do program evaluations. We work with about 55 school districts a year, give or take, some more, some less, depending on the years. And we have a variety of different full-time staff and part-time staff that do the work that we provide. So Donna and I spoke last year, and we had a good discussion about doing a district-wide evaluation. Given the size of the district, I did the evaluation myself as opposed to a team because the district is small enough for one individual to do it. And we organized it and got it all set up. And I want to begin by saying that the receptibility of the staff was just incredible. We do about 25 of these a year, some district-wide, some program-specific. But the staff were just so enthusiastic and so thankful to have the opportunity to have discussions about the programs and services and the needs of the district. And it was very difficult. It was very difficult to keep them on time, keep them on the contract. They wanted to go over, and I said, we can't go over. I got another group waiting to come in. But they were wonderful, and they just gave lots and lots of information. So a lot of what comes out of the report, I'm going to go through the methodology in a minute, but most of what comes out of this report, the real concrete pieces of information other than data, is really from the staff. And from all the groups, the parents, the staff, and so forth, who gave a great deal of positive input and very, very good suggestions and ideas and thoughts. So they were most appreciative and most enthusiastic, and that's across the board. Even people that were quiet in the focus groups would say something on the way out or hand me a slip about something. And so everybody wanted to give input, which I think was really a great indicator of where staff are at. I'd like to just go through this brief presentation, and then we can do questions and answers,
They have the
inquiries.
report too. They read
They
the
have the report, thank you.
Report,
Good.
yes. Very interesting.
The methodology section, you want to just, basically, we take it from three different approaches, and the first is a review of all pertinent documentation. And I look at a lot of information that the school district has assembled regarding special education, census, budget, program descriptions, role and responsibility descriptions of staff, staffing patterns, caseloads, everything that is on paper, I take a look at. I also did, as you have seen in the report, a lot of work on the DESE website, Department of Elementary and Secondary Education website, in getting data for both census and staffing and expenditure reports to do the comparison of like districts. The one-on-one interviews as well as focus groups with 43 individuals. We had a lot of focus groups. It was one way to get more people involved. The one-on-one interviews are 30 minutes in length. I developed a set of questions, and those questions come from the document review and the walkthrough that we conducted at each school. Donna and I and the principal did a walkthrough, which allows me the opportunity to ask informal questions of the principals and have kind of a walking conversation about what some of the issues they are confronted with and dealing with regarding special education in their particular building. The focus groups varied from 4 people to 5 or 6. They were 45 minutes in length, so we got a good amount of time spent on that, and it was a great cross-section. We covered every position in the district, as you'll see from the list that goes up next. Is that it? You've seen the list, you know what they are. These are the individuals that, in the positions that we interviewed. Obviously, we give it away on some, we try to keep the confidentiality issue, but it's kind of hard when you have only so many people in certain positions, you know who they are. But we don't attribute any comments or remarks in the report to any positions or any individuals, and it's a collective process. So you can see the different positions that have been represented: elementary, middle, general, special education, related service providers, and so on, in the parent group, which was very enthusiastic and a great cross-section of parents representing different needs and different issues. So the commendation section is really to identify some specific areas that the district has made what we consider either around programs, approaches, efforts that really distinguish the district in one way or another. Many times it'll be something the district is doing that we don't see in other districts. But I identified 31 specific commendations. I'm sure there are a lot more, but that's just from the document review, from the interviews, from the walkthrough. And those are usually things that stand out. And I think they list a considerable effort on the part of the district in moving forward with the mandates of special education, which is complicated for any district in these times. The section on factors affecting special education program and service. This is an area that, for some districts, there's a lot of data in there. In some districts, there's not as much, but it really focuses on what are some of the issues that are impacting the district around getting to where they want to go. Clearly, census, the number of children who are identified as special needs, and the needs of those students, the intensity of their special needs. And as many districts are experiencing in different areas, different disability categories, that those needs are growing, the numbers are growing, and the severity of need is increased. And it was clearly identified the increase of severity of need around students on the autism spectrum, that population has grown and has impacted the district programmatically substantially. Fiscal implications, always an issue for school committees and school administration, because there's only so much that districts can receive from their town and from city or from the state, and that impacts. And as we know, that special education budgets continue to grow at a greater rate than the general education budget, so there's trade-offs that have to be made, unfortunately. Out-of-district placements is always an issue because of the high cost of tuition and transportation in order to provide for the needs of students. And in that process, we looked at some areas of future growth around internal program development in order to help offset some of that. That's a long-term issue. Usually a school district needs to map that out over 3 to 5 fiscal years to determine what programs can be developed with internally in order to help reduce the exiting of students from the district as well as maybe bring students back. The containment in the growth of special education is an area that can be affected there. Advocacy and legal issues, plays an important part in special education. The public as a whole doesn't see this side of special education. Massachusetts has a long history of advocacy around special education going back prior to the implementation of Chapter 766, and that has withstood time. Therefore, there's a budget for legal issues around mediation and special education hearings, and for some districts, that's a large piece of work that has to be done each year, and other districts not so, and so that it does impact what a district can do and cannot do. Technology is a real difficult area to challenge. Efforts are continually being made to upgrade technology to improve the equipment that teachers have, but also the equipment that students have. And the district is making effort in that area, and it continues to move in that area, which is wonderful. But it is an area for children with more intensive needs that technology can be a significant benefit in their learning and acquisitions of skills. And then the educational experience that the district is attempting to provide for students, to really give them a real life educational experience that is going to have benefit for them, especially when they transition out of the Georgetown Public Schools. And again, that's an ongoing issue. In the findings sections, there were 43 as a result of the reviews, the documentation, the walkthrough, and program observations and interviews. And the foundations really are the foundation for the recommendations. They're not necessarily, I don't want them to be interpreted as a negative issue or a problem issue or something that the district is not doing and should be doing. But it really is, these are areas that came up that I felt need to be addressed and were addressed in the recommendations. And this is where all that interviewing process, that review of documentation and the walkthrough, all that data that I collect in that process comes out. And these findings really are a benchmark or a jumping off point to move forward with the recommendations. The outcomes of recommendations, there were 19 recommendations broken down into 9 sections. The area of pre-referral and response to intervention, or what we call tiered system of instruction. This continues to be an area for school districts. They struggle with the issue of general ed's responsibility around having interventions available to general education personnel in order to potentially reduce the need of teachers and other school personnel and parents making referrals to special education. So it's really developing that process, maintaining and stand by the process and the integrity of the process.
That's a major district goal in
Yeah.
our strategic plan.
Right.
Yes, very.
And
Tiered instruction.
Right.
right, the tiered instruction piece is really something, and there was some very good conversation by the staff about their interest in moving in that direction. Staff are all in different places with regards to their knowledge and information about tiered instruction, or the commercial name RTI, response to intervention, but they're aware of it in different degrees. Some people have participated in conferences, some training, so forth. They're really excited about the potential.
Consistent.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Program development, I addressed the issue of further program development and some areas that the district needs to look in and how to improve some of the existing programs because of the issue of really developing programs that not only are quality, but also what I term defensible programs, that they'll stand up to the test of a challenge. And that's a crucial aspect. It's one thing to have a program in place. It's another thing to have that program that has real integrity to it and it can be defended when challenged. The co-teaching model of instruction was mentioned as an area that needs be talked about and decisions made about where the district is going and what direction and how much they can do. Co-teaching, there's some of it going on in pieces, but there's no a setting where it's in one place all day in a classroom by two qualified teachers. And that's an expensive model to operate. There's no question about it. School districts go back and forth on it. Some districts will have a lot of it going on for several years, and then because of budget issues, they have to cut back on it. It's a model, though, that allows more students to be maintained in general education classes. It gives more skills to general education teachers around strategies of instruction, and it helps the special education teachers learn about the curriculum and the content areas that they're working with students in. So professional development, I spent a fair amount of time talking about that and giving a lot of emphasis to the topics that staff brought up with me. The topics that are mentioned in there, for the most part, were mentioned by staff during the interviews. Very few are some of the standard ones that I put in because it falls out of the discussions that I have with administrators especially. But professional development obviously is a key issue and something the district is always working on. The dilemma that happens is that when you only have so much time available for professional development and really picking the areas that the district is going to concentrate on, and it becomes a struggle. It's a balance. There's a lot of interest by staff in a variety of those topics that I mentioned. There's excitement about other initiatives that'll be put forth, so it's a balance, and you don't have a lot of time available or as much time as the administration would like to have available for professional development. Evidence-based practice, this is an area, especially for the special education staff, is to really look at the practices that are being invoked by the teachers throughout their role and responsibilities. Some of them are, it's a time to take a look. Are we doing current best practice? And if we are, that's good. And if we're not, then we need to look at what we need to do to get there. And some of that may be professional development activity for the special education staff. Program and services entrance exit criteria. How do students get into special education? We know they go through an eligibility determination, but how do they get into a particular program? There needs to be established entrance criteria, and more importantly, I think, exit criteria. Too often students get on an educational plan, an individual educational plan program, and they remain there year after year. Even when students are making progress, they remain on that IEP. So part of looking at the entrance criteria is also to develop some clear standards around the exit criteria. When a student does reach and is successful, it's a celebration. We should, maybe move them to less time, less frequency, less service, and eventually they may move out of that identification. And that's a success to the child and a success to the district. Transition practices. This is a couple of areas around transition. The one that's getting a lot of notoriety now is the transition from high school to the world of wherever students are going after high school. That transition to higher ed, the transition to employment, that's getting a lot of attention due to a number of reasons of students having certain skills and competencies to move on from high school. But also, I mentioned in the report the transition issue from each level, from preschool to elementary, from elementary to middle, from middle to high school. That's an area that needs to be tightened up. Steps and procedures and practices need to be put in place that are consistently followed by all the staff on a consistent basis. And this is primarily to prevent the old proverbial falling through the cracks. But there are steps to be put in place. Who does what, when, where, and how information transfers. That whole process needs to be established and documented. Paraprofessionals, instructional tutors, it's an issue in this. Many districts have these classifications of staff. They'll call them paraprofessionals. They'll have teacher assistants. They'll have instructional tutors. They'll have a variety of classifications. You're using two different ones. The issue around them is, and I think I made the point in the report, these individuals spend an enormous amount of time with the students. Probably more time in a given day than any other staff person, any professionals. And so the real issue around these individuals, they're so motivated and highly interested in the children, is the issue around their training, their skill, their knowledge base, because they come from a variety of experiences and backgrounds. So I put some emphasis on their training and their supervision and evaluation because they spend so much time with the children. And then the Office of Special Education, I gave some recommendations around how to have some more efficiencies around operation and some procedures and practices, which Donna and I plan to talk about. So if you have any questions or inquiries, I'm more than happy to respond.
We were very fortunate because we had an opportunity, Donna and I, to speak with Dr. Early before he wrote his report, just after, when he was concluding his visit. So actually, there were, as I pointed out in my orange notes, no real surprises here. And actually, it's great to have an external set of eyes. Some of the things confirmed what we already knew and what we've been working on and continuing to work on. And a few other things were, good food for thought, things that we've already begun to put in place. So I think it was money well spent, and thank you very much for the quality of the product. I think it gives us a great roadmap to look at going forward.
Yes.
And, what we'll do as we do many of these things, we will, put in the calendar updates on, what we're accomplishing against these goals. But this actually, leads us in a very good strategic direction. We're gonna have to prioritize things, because
Right.
obviously we can't do everything all at one time. But, as I was reading through the report, I was thinking that there's already a number of these things that are in our strategic plan, things that we've begun the work on, but as Dr. Early's saying, they just need to be consistently done, consistently implemented. They have to be written. A lot of things, we just kind of do, but it's not consistent,
Right.
and it's not written, it's not public. So I think there's some fine tuning clearly that we need to do, and we thank you very much for your thoughtful report.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to get this last Thursday and look through it, and I'm happy to hear that it wasn't, there was nothing that came out that
No.
you were shocked about, but the, just the different, tables that you provided, it gave me a better sense too of how we're looking. I think it was money well spent, and I applaud you for bringing, getting you to do this, so I do appreciate that.
I think those comparisons are so helpful for school administrators and school committees and for the public, because a lot of times special education gets, a bad rap around the issues of cost. And, I hear it a lot where they say, we're spending the most, we're spending all this money and so on and so forth, when in fact, when you begin to look at like districts and you see where Georgetown compares to its like districts, then you're not an outlier.
Right.
It's not an aberration. It's consistent with practices that are occurring in other districts that are similar.
Again, Donna, I really appreciate you bringing in Mr. Early, and it's an excellent report. I've gone through it. There's a lot of detail, a lot of meat, a lot of great ideas, many areas I'm not surprised at. I know that we are working on these areas, and, response to intervention and tiered instruction, a lot of great suggestions. I just had a couple of questions.
Sure, absolutely.
And they basically, I've gone through this a number of times, but they just come down to one page here, on page 52.
52, okay. Getting near the end of the report.
Yeah, it's just, the director should consider the following strategies to maximize administrative efficiencies within the department.
Right.
And you noted establishment of district-wide team meeting dates.
Yes.
So that we should set dates that should be put in place for conducting evaluation team meetings at each school. what kind of evaluation team? Are you referring to IEP
Yes.
teams?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I
Yes.
just wasn't clear on
Evaluation
that.
team, right.
Okay. All right, so it would be more
Monday-
predictable. It'd
like,
be.
right, Monday might be team meeting day at Pearlie.
Right.
So that
Right.
we know that all the service providers that service students from Pearlie
Right.
know, I'm going to Pearlie on Monday.
Right,
you
on-
know,
on
as
Pearlie
opposed
there
to I can't be
could
in
be-
two meetings, one in Pearlie, one in Pembroke at the same time.
Right, so people, yes. no.
Centralized, control over.
That makes a
meetings.
lot of sense, and different times of the year for different grades, and just,
Right.
so that, to set up a regular
It
schedule.
adds a system to what can seem like a chaotic approach to providing services for students. So it provides a system and people know what to expect, parents know what to expect.
Right, when my child is in this grade, this is the time of year that I would be called in, or I would need to
Right.
have an IEP meeting.
And and the methodology that I'm recommending is you do the calendar for the entire year. So
Yes.
that every staff member knows when the team meeting dates are for the high school.
Right,
What the date, it's already scheduled for those days, that date
Right.
by the month throughout the whole year. So that people can plan their year accordingly, and as superintendent indicated, you don't have people moving around the district all the time, going to a meeting when they should be at this school. So you can coordinate the itinerant staff schedule. And
we have staff that does service more than one
Right.
school.
And
Right.
it provides assistance to the general ed staff as
Right.
well, so that they know when their meetings are coming up and the meetings that they need to attend well in advance, so they can plan their curriculum or their exams or whatever they need to do.
That's gotta be
to
very
account
helpful.
For that.
Yes, yeah, and give parents a sense of certainty that, this is
Right.
when my meeting's gonna happen. And if I do need to have more meetings than that, this is when I could do it, this is when
Right.
it's, available. Say establishment of an annual review schedule annual review of what exactly? Of
the IEP.
The IEP.
the IEP?
Right.
That's what, okay, again,
And
we're
how
talking
every
about the
year,
IEP.
Pam, this parent gets an annual review
Oh,
date. But I
absolutely.
think what happens
I just-
often is at the end of the
Year.
year, everybody wants a date, and it's just, it's really kind of crazy.
Right.
We don't need to review everybody's progress at the end of the year, although that's kind of the way we think, right?
Right.
Because we're trying to measure a year's growth,
And-
right? Instead of looking at
Right.
February to February, we tend to want to look at a school
Right.
year's
Right.
growth.
Right, absolutely, I just didn't know, annual review could mean a lot of different
No,
things,
it's the
so
IEP
that's what it
annual.
means,
Yeah,
okay,
and one
got
of the
it.
key elements is to include those transition years at the end of the school year so that you can invite incoming school members to that team meeting as
Yes,
well. And
that's
then
helpful.
as you're developing that IEP, it's developed appropriately for where
And that
the
helps with the
child is going.
transitions.
Absolutely, that makes a lot of sense, that makes a lot of sense.
So by developing a staggered approach, does it mean that you wouldn't always get an evaluation at the end of the year, that it could go into
It
the
could be in
following?
March, it could be, but as far as, knowing where the progress is at the end of the year, you certainly can get that information, and you can always request a meeting.
Right.
It doesn't prevent that. But what it does do is give management so that less time at the end of the year is taken away from instruction, and it's more coordinated. Rather than having most of the annual reviews done between May and when school lets out, then staff are being taken away from direct service to students. This way it takes that pressure off. But when you do a staggered schedule like this, you get on a cycle. So through middle school, you're on that cycle, and then you pick it up again at the end of 8th grade, at the end of the year.
Right, and I remember as a parent, not really knowing exactly when the meeting was going to be, and it wasn't always the same every year.
No.
The second week of May or something, it was just
Right.
whenever somebody told me, and, that was that was confusing. So this'll give parents greater ground to stand on, so. Thank you, and that's all everything else, it was very interesting, but I understood it.
Sure.
This is what I had questions about.
Good questions,
Thank you.
good questions. Thank you.
Donna, this was a great call, thank you very much. And Dr. Early, I'm just looking at this today for the first time, so my questions are more general. I've been away for a couple of weeks, but
Sure.
How does a report such as this become not just a report on a shelf, and that it ends up actually getting implemented in your background?
Very good question. What we recommend a lot of times, and school districts do this usually automatically, but we recommend is that when they get a report like this, the administration, and in this case, I would think the staff within the Department of Special Education have a chance to review it, is that depending on recommendations, a lot of districts will set up study groups. And they'll take, for example, the recommendations around professional development. Maybe one group of staff will take that and run with that and talk about it and discuss and prioritize topic areas and maybe develop in coordination with the professional development committee for the district when some of those topics are going to be addressed and what can be done on their own, what can be done as a department, what can be done as a district. So that there's an opportunity to get the staff engaged in, through study group process, the different areas of the report that they may be interested in, and then they can come back with action steps, what they'd like to see occur over the next year, 2, 3, or 4 years. Many of these recommendations are out there in the sense of, especially around program development, space is always a priority, and you can't do programming without some space, so you need to look at when space does become available, but so now you start to look at a fiscal cycle that may be 3-5 years out to be able to do some of the recommendations. But you need to build up to that. You have to plan in the budget, you have to plan for material supplies and staffing and all that. So you could create study groups as one way. There are some areas that are directly under the administrator for special education that are directives that can be done to the staff, new practices and procedures put in place. There are obviously some issues that come out of the director of curriculum instruction that need to be collaborated on as you talk about different areas like tiered system of instruction and so forth. So that's obviously the leadership
It's
team.
all part of the leadership team. Yeah.
Team would take a look at this and hone in on particular areas. There's a lot of that overlaps with general education here, because it really needs to be merged as one.
Right, and it's all part of this stuff that's in the strategic plan.
Yeah.
Remember, we have that whole section of the plan that's called student support?
Mm-hmm.
That's where this is all embedded.
So, for example, establishing the priorities in this is what you folks will be
That's right.
identifying.
That's right, and it will include participation from all the various
Right.
groups, yeah.
Right, okay.
Mhm.
All right.
That's
Is-
what I was actually wondering. I only skimmed through this, but I saw the executive summary and I was wondering if you sort of prioritize the 19 issues and say if I were running the district, these are the 3 I would work on, or the top 5. Or is that
Yeah,
tying
it said it was
this
in no priority.
back to the
I don't-
strategic
We
plan?
didn't pay him to do that,
Yeah,
but
no, no.
I'm sure on the
And I wouldn't
side
do-
he'd give
I-
us our
I
recommendations.
wouldn't do it. I'd be happy to have that conversation another
Yeah,
point.
exactly.
But that's why I don't put them in a priority order, because a lot of it is just a sequence of events. But I think the district has to make the decision, what are the priorities? What are some of the things we can do immediately now? What are some of the issues that we need to address over the next
Right.
couple of years and over the next 5 years?
So we would definitely do the connecting to the strategic plan, for sure.
Lots of
And
tangible,
Dr. Early
realistic.
has been a special education director and a superintendent, so he's lived this world.
Right, and in a
So-
large district.
Yeah.
No, Watertown was small.
Watertown.
Oh,
Only
I consider
2,400 students
Watertown
when I
to be
left.
so big,
I
because
know.
it's such a big
2,400
city. Is that what it is?
students,
Well, it's
Yeah.
bigger than us. It's a good.
It's bigger than us.
So,
That's a
so
good
just
amount.
so I understand,
Yeah.
so the contract for this did not include taking it to the next step of providing priorities, your recommendations per se?
No.
No.
That's not
That's
the
not part of
understand-
what this was?
It's not the understanding of what his task was.
Well, it's all the
Is that-
recommendations, it's just not
Yeah, yeah, I
narrowed
mean-
down
I mean,
to
we-
the top.
He-
Is
that's-
that,
I don't
I'm
think
just
it's
curious, is
necessary
that
that it
something that is available at some
Sure.
point if that were to be asked?
Sure, absolutely.
I mean, we could have an ongoing, working relationship with Dr. Early, which I would imagine that we would do. But, we haven't developed a contract for that. I mean, right now, we just got
Sure.
his report, so.
That's right.
So
Sure.
the next step is, what are we going to do with the report? How are we gonna handle it? What already connects to what we're doing? Is there something, that we see that we, say, ooh, we need to put that on the radar and do that? But we don't
When-
have a long-term contract at this
Okay.
point.
So, so that's available, that was my question.
Yep.
And which leads me to then, what is your next step? with this? What are you going to do next?
Well, I think actually Dr. Early and I have already started having that conversation about working together and looking at what pieces that the Walker Partnerships can assist Georgetown with. But with regards to next steps, again, we're going to look at the overall strategic plan. One of the key elements that we're looking at is the response to intervention piece. So, you know, we've already started, myself and some other committee members have started looking, the groundwork of looking at universal screeners. You know, what kind of a strategic plan can we put in place? What are the steps? Do we want to do it, you know, one grade in each building? You know, what is the approach we're going to take that's both appropriate with regards to fiscal responsibility, professional development? We don't want to overwhelm people, so there's a lot to that. Another piece that we've already started looking at and we've started implementing about halfway through last school year is bringing all of those programs together. So we have the autism program in each of the different 4 schools. So we've started meeting from the pre-K teacher through the high school teacher once a month. So we're working on consistent pieces, the same language, transitioning students from the ASD program in one school to the next school. So these teachers have the opportunity, because they're all working in the same program, to be able to see each other and have those collegial conversations once a month. So that's just some examples of where we're going. We've had discussions about creating some study groups, as Dr. Early said, and putting part of that online, maybe through Edmodo or Moodle, so we can share best practices, we can share journal articles. We don't have to, you know, be under a time constraint of physically seeing each other, so we can have those conversations online as well. So there's a lot of different areas that we're looking at, but priority-wise, those are some of the areas that we've already started some of that work.
And some are bigger and littler, you know what I mean? So,
Right,
you know,
right.
they're not all of equal,
Simpler,
equal scope,
more
I guess that
complex,
would
and
be.
yeah, there's a lot
So,
of- yeah.
so the next step, obviously, Donna has it, we are all reading it, the administrators are all talking about it, she has special ed coordinators, they're gonna be involved in the conversation. Donna has monthly meetings with special education staff. Obviously, there'll be ways to get the information out to them, and then all the things she just described. So what I want to assure the school committee is we didn't spend the money on this to have a project that sits on the shelf. That we, you know, we are serious about it, and as I said, it really confirms a lot of the things we've already begun to do. And it is about connections, it's not about new initiatives. We can't do more new initiatives. But what we have to do is initiatives that link to things we know we need to do. For example, we know we need to do teacher evaluation. So if you look at standard 2 in teacher evaluation, it's all about teaching all students. Well, that ties very nicely into, well, what are the ways we're going to do that? RTI being one of them. So it's trying to look at this report in the context of the other things that we know we're doing and find those connections. Then I think we have a better shot that we're actually gonna do them. I mean, we've all seen what happens when you try to layer and layer and layer and layer, and it's one-shot deals. It just doesn't, it doesn't come together. Doesn't come together. So that's what we're gonna do next.
Excellent,
All
thank you. Just specifically, the one
Yes.
question I did have, on page 39, given the district for FY 13 has 9.5 of special ed out-of-district placement, which is higher than estimated state average, that comment, my question to you, based on your experience, I don't know if this is a fair question, why?
I'm not sure he knows why.
And that's why I don't know if it's a fair question to you.
Well, I think there's numerous factors that play into that. It's having the cohort of students in the same disability category where you can create a program. If you don't have that at the age groupings, in other words, you've got several students at the 2 students at the elementary and 1 at the middle school, you can't put them together in a program. That can be a factor. The specific disability, it could be a singleton where you don't have any other student and you don't have the expertise to bring in to try to establish a program, so a student needs to go to a specialized program that would be out of district. Others factors are the legal side, the advocacy legal side. That you know,
We face that.
you face that every day, and decisions have to be made. Sometimes the school district prevails, sometimes the district doesn't. There's a variety of factors that influence that. That's why I mentioned earlier that when you have programming, you not only have to have quality programming, but you have to have what I call defensible programming. It'll stand up to the challenge that comes forth. And I think that takes time. for that to get in place and to build a track record where people realize this is a good program, and this program offers what any other program on the outside would offer. And once you have that, then that activity slows down.
Yeah.
Do you
And it
know of
takes a-
districts that do have that come up?
Well,
come up here?
you can go into any district, and you can depending on a lot of variables, they'll have. We worked very closely with the district. Well, I'll give you an example. It's public information. We've done a lot of program evaluations in Framingham, and we do work in the district. We have a staff person working in the district, and we do a lot of consultation. They have every conceivable program you can imagine, but they have 200 students in out-of-district placement.
Yeah.
And the reason they have 200 students in out-of-district placements, the primary reason, is they have absolutely no space. Absolutely no space. So they're having discussions about modulars, they're having discussions about expansion, they're having all those kinds of discussions. They can't create programs because they have absolutely no place to put them. Or they have to push other programs out. So that's a dilemma that people don't realize, and that impacts on program development. And
sure.
I know you're tight for space
We are,
at the secondary level.
And there's the overall budget issue.
And the overall budget. But the out-of-district budget eats up, a great deal of the whole, it's usually in the range of 25 to 30% of the special ed budget. And then you tack in. So there's also another factor that plays in here, and I mentioned that in the beginning, that you've gone through a lot of administrative changes in the leadership of special education, and that variability impacts in not so obvious way, but an indirect way. And I think that now that you have Donna here and the stability that she can bring and offer and some tenure over that timeline, that you can deal more effectively with the issues that come up.
I agree. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much,
Good.
Jim.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank
Donna.
you for coming.
Right, wonderful.
Staying put is very
Okay, the middle high school.
Yeah, so I just want to
Foundation.
finish the staffing update, and then we'll go to Peter's things. On your staffing update form, I just want to update you on a couple things. The special education teacher .5 was listed as open. We filled that today. I hired a teacher today. The cook manager position was listed as open, and I'm pleased to say that we filled that position, which is great. And so the kitchen helper, server and the other kitchen helper are still open, but I believe they're interviewing tomorrow, so hopefully that will be very serious, very solved very soon. And then the other one is elementary special education coordinator, Kim Leonard, has decided to move on to another district. We found that out recently. In fact, Donna and Margaret and myself have met about it, trying to come up with what our strategy is going to be. Obviously, we're going to try to replace, in fact, I think Donna said there were already applications, I posted it yesterday, applications on School Spring, so hopefully we'll be successful in finding someone, and then, Kim and I are meeting tomorrow to talk about what the timeline for a transition might be. So hopefully we'll get several weeks so we can make the transition. We've already looked at what's gonna happen in September, what's scheduled in September, so we have a September plan, so parents should not be overly worried about it. We are working diligently on a plan. I have to say that it's been my pleasure to work with Kim for the entire time I've been here. She does an amazing job. She's built many relationships with staff and families. The administrators and I, are all, very, we're sad that she's leaving, but we are appreciative of the time she spent here. And we want very much for her to be able to fulfill whatever professional goals she has. And I know that the next district she's going to will truly benefit from her knowledge, her skills, and her, kind of amazing, kind and thoughtful, demeanor in working with everyone she has the pleasure to work with and has the pleasure to work with her. So I do list that as an open position, and we are doing our best to put something in place. I know Donna has mentioned it in a letter she sent out to families. So parents, we've talked about the communication loop. I sent something out yesterday to the staff members in Burley and Pembroke because I didn't want them to hear this, in a public meeting, that I wanted them to hear it, before that. So the staff has been informed. And as I said, Donna's mentioned it to the families in the welcome back letter that she put out. And Kim, I'm sure will put together something as well. So we want the communication to be, obviously people will be concerned or worried, and maybe they'll have certain perceptions that they create, but the best way and the only way to deal with perception is to provide information. So our goal is to provide, open, honest, transparent conversation about what we're doing, and we are committed to still having great service for our students and our families in this time of transition.
I noticed you have a Mandarin teacher.
We do have a Mandarin teacher. In fact, we had two great candidates.
That was great.
One was a young gentleman who had actually spent time, in the country recently, and he was a real dynamic, really interesting young kid. Both Peter and I really enjoyed talking with him. But we also had a day teacher we ended up hiring is, a native Chinese woman who has been working part-time for a local district in the neighborhood. But that position is being phased out over time, and this is obviously a full-time position, so she was very interested in it, and we were fortunate to have an experienced teacher available to us. But that young guy was impressive, we were, there was something about him we were both really liked. So yes, we do have a Mandarin teacher.
Good.
So that would, so that's the update on the staffing, we're gonna be good to go, day one. And, very excited about our new hires this year. This week on Thursday, is new teacher orientation day, so all of the new folks will be coming in, and we'll meet all the key people and, get some important information and have some time to work in their classrooms before next week when the students come. So,
That'll be exciting.
yes, will be.
Yes.
If you have any questions, you can certainly drop me a note. And that would conclude my staffing update.
Okay, so we'll go on to the school
School report.
reports.
So,
Middle and school.
yeah, so Peter, do you want to come up? Peter just has a couple of quick things to highlight, and then we'll get right into thank you, Mike, for your patience, then we'll get right into the school reports. So Peter, the first thing was the accreditation special report, so I made sure the committee had a copy of that, in case they have any questions about it.
Okay, I can you do have the report, so I'll just briefly highlight some of the things. We have been getting lots of special report requests ever since the visit. So this one was mostly, they always want to know the update on the building project, because we are on warning because of our facility. And so we believe and we hope that when the new school opens up, that will solve that problem. So that's always part of a special report. So I think they're always going to ask us for a special report every 6 months until that's done. But we're also getting ready for the next visit, which is in 2016. And one of the things, the standards have changed since the last time they came. And in my mind, the most important standard is the mission, because the school's mission, which they've changed to a statement of core values and beliefs, really drives the school, and everything that goes on has to tie into that. So we are in the process of revising it, and they wanted to know about that process. And we followed to the T what they recommend, and committees and getting everybody involved. And the new standard really focuses on 21st century learning. So there was a lot about that, and the committee did a lot of research on that, and we found a great crosswalk with different experts' views on what 21st century learning was. And then the final column, there's a consensus, and we went off that consensus. So what I've included in here are our statement of core values. What is the school value, and what do we believe in, and then what we expect for our students. And those expectations are broken down into academic expectations, civic expectations, and social expectations. For each expectation, you have to have an analytic rubric that goes along with it. And we have to measure the progress of those expectations throughout the year. So where we are in this whole process right now is we feel that we have a very good statement of core values and beliefs and expectations, which we will be bringing to the faculty sometime in the early fall for their approval. And they have to adopt that. And once we get that, we can start working on the rubric. So we really have a lot of work to do this year with regard to getting ready for accreditation. So by the end of the year, I hope to have all of those rubrics written and then start to use them and make this something real for us. The other part of the report, they asked us to do what they call a pre-self study. That's basically going through all of the standards and seeing where we are with regard to strengths and needs. And they're really interested in the needs. So we had a committee that looked at all of these. And I think we're in really good shape. There are some common themes that have come up, and it's nothing that we didn't know about, because it's just not about, we see these needs not just for NEAS, but the things that we do on a daily basis. For example, data. We need more sources of data. Data does not come easily in high schools. So we need to search for them. We're going to be, and you know what, the new teacher evaluation process is all tied into that too, because we need to find
measures.
We need to find data to gauge student growth. So I think we're going to kill a lot of birds with one stone when we really get into all of this stuff. The other thing that we've been lacking for a while is interdisciplinary courses. And those are, I think they're looking for real specific interdisciplinary courses. We do a lot of interdisciplinary work, and that kind of got us by the last time. But I'll be perfectly honest with you, real interdisciplinary courses cost a lot of money, because in most cases, in most schools that have that, they have more than one teacher teaching one class. So that's expensive. So we're looking, as always, to get the best bang for our buck, and we'll find ways to get through this.
So in some districts, what they'll do is they'll have something called an American Studies class. So that has an English teacher and a history teacher co-teaching generally, and for a longer block. That's what Peter's talking about when he talks about it costs more money, because sometimes you might have 45 kids in the class, but you have two teachers teaching it, that one class.
I think it's very important to understand that NEASC is built on a foundation of beliefs. And one of the strong beliefs that they have is the belief in heterogeneous grouping. So I think that that's probably the most controversial belief that NEASC has with high schools, because most high schools don't operate that way. They believe in ability grouping, and they move forward in that direction. So we do have to, they're pretty adamant in the new standards about that, to have at least a taste of it. So I will be coming back to you in the late fall with a recommendation to make social studies a 4-year requirement. Right now, of our 4 core areas, only English and math have 4-year requirements. So science and social studies do not. We want to make social studies a 4-year requirement, because our elective program in social studies is all heterogeneously grouped. So we'll be able to at least be proficient in that standard. And actually, we could be advanced if we eliminate the honors course in English on the senior electives, but I don't know if we want to go there, but we will look at it, and I'll bring that up for discussion later. So, in a nutshell, that's about it. Again, they want to know about how the school building project is going, and Carol's the resident expert on that, so I always ask her to contribute to the report in that
It was a
area.
thorough answer.
Yeah,
Good. Can I just ask you a question?
yep, absolutely.
Why social studies, a 4-year requirement? Why not science?
Because we could do either one, but we're really close in social studies already because most people take 4 years of social studies. Most people take 4 years of science too.
Science as well,
Okay.
yeah.
But when you're in science, you get you have labs, and it doesn't lend itself to heterogeneous grouping as well as social studies does.
I mean, we talked about adding courses like bioethics or something like that. That would need, that
Right.
could be, that, but you know, it's also interesting because a lot of the kids are concerned about their class rank. And so there are some classes, unless they're an honors or an AP distinction, kids don't take them because
Right,
they look,
because
they're
it
always
will
concerned
interfere
about their
with their
weighting.
rank.
And that, so it, you know, there's always these things that are, you know, countering each other.
Yeah.
And that's an example of one, because, you know, you notice we have honors business.
Mm-hmm.
Honors business. But the reason we have honors business is because some kids will not take the class because it doesn't weight as high as just taking the business class. So that, we wouldn't have business classes that people filled because they'd be worried about taking something that was gonna give them.
But it is rigorous enough to.
It's very rigorous, they're all
Yeah,
they're
considered
college,
an honors.
yeah,
I was
they're
thinking the
college
same
prep
thing,
and honors,
but-
but it's the idea that sometimes if you don't have that distinction, some kids won't take it because they're worried about how the numbers are all gonna play into
So
their-
it's not just
Is
a
it what-
name.
so even like a bioethics would be a fabulous
That'd be a
course.
fabulous course.
It doesn't have, you know, it doesn't have to be an honors class.
Yeah.
You know, and kids could sign up for it as an elective, but I'm just pointing out that there sometimes are kids that don't wanna take that because they want something that's gonna have a greater
The
weight.
minimum standard is to, I hate to use this word, but to force every kid to take one heterogeneous class in their 4 years in a core academic area. And we used to have that when we didn't have an honors class in English.
Right.
Because when you were a senior, they were all college prep level.
Right.
So you had to take 4 years. So if you have to take 4 years of social studies, all our electives are college prep, so we would meet that standard. And to get to advanced, if every kid has to take two. So,
But if you look at college, just when you go to college, you take a
Yes.
college class.
Yes.
Nobody says to you, you know, are you AP or honor?
Right.
You all take the class, right? So it's that concept, you know, that in when you have high school, that kids should have the opportunity to access the classes. It's, you know what I mean? So it's
Does
tricky.
this get them to content? Is NEASC interested in content such
Yep.
as like globalization studies, you know, and social studies and getting the kids to?
Though they want us to meet the standards. you
yeah,
know,
they,
for-
they don't
for
define
I'm
our
not quite-
curriculum.
No.
Can you just explain a little bit more heterogeneous what that means?
That means that everyone is working at the same level of rigor.
Okay.
So,
And so,
for
heterogeneous
example,
class,
in
like
the
the
middle
whole
school,
class?
in the middle school,
Yeah.
outside of math, all of the classes are heterogeneously grouped. There's no ability levels. So you have a
Okay.
wide range of ability levels in one class.
Right.
So we really, outside of our AP program, for the most part, we have two levels, college prep
Got
and
it.
honors.
Okay.
What,
have a
what
couple of-
evidence does NEAS put forth to support that viewpoint of theirs?
Oh, they have
They
volumes.
quote their research. They quote the
Yeah,
research.
if you go on their website, all their standards,
I
they have
could
big
see trying to raise
bibliographies.
the bottom
It's
and-
intriguing that most schools don't do that.
Right,
If
but
I heard that right.
But I think what it's true. I think what they're
Yes,
saying
says.
though is that when they survey the research, and of course we can all find research on other ways, you know, to support anything we want. But their sense is that based on what's available in the research, that students learn best or perform best or can show skills if they are given the opportunity to work with people that maybe cross
Okay.
you know, have different skills and ability than they do.
Okay.
That it's not necessarily just about, you know, those kids that, you know, do very well playing the game of school, you know, or have a,
Right.
you know, there always are kids who perform at higher levels than others. So you don't want to be putting students in situations where they can't succeed. But you also don't want to be, according to what they're saying, you don't
Don't
want
wanna
to
be
you
holding
don't want to
them.
be pigeonholing kids into
Right.
this is the only track
Down
you can
to a
work
track,
at, you know.
right.
And we find that, you know, Peter and the staff are very flexible in the sense that they have this waiver opportunity. So there are situations, and actually it was one year Peter and I collected the data. We said, well, let's collect the data, you know, how do the kids that get waived into classes do in comparison to the kids who are sort of just recommended for it,
Right.
Waved up.
waived up, and
Right.
it was
We
interesting.
actually collected data over about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And the average, it's a little skewed here because there's some kids that wash out, they can't do it, so they're not
Yeah,
in the
that's
data.
right.
Very few of them.
Yeah.
But the average grade was a B minus.
And there are some kids in those classes that outperformed kids that were recommended to be in there. So, there's not one way to do it. I think that what we're doing is we're trying to look at the standards, look at the research, and trying to look at what we do and what's working here and what we know our kids need to be prepared to do. You know, NEASC has standards that come from research, but we also have to make sure that we're preparing our children for what they're expected to face
All of our
in
children.
their world.
All of our children with all their different
all
types
children.
of intelligences,
Yeah.
yes.
So I don't think we embody any one, way to do it, but we're mindful of the standards. And Peter and his staff are talking about what are the implications for the school. And, sometimes there are some standards that you just have to accept that you're not gonna get a superior at because you either don't believe in it or you're willing to do part of it because some of it makes sense. So that's the process of the self-study, is really looking at, where are we in relationship to these external standards. But we also, our driver right now is preparing our kids, honestly, for the assessments that, they need to get for high school graduation and what is considered college and career ready. In fact, at the superintendent's conference, there was a very detailed presentation and discussion because there are a number of superintendents who actually want to pull out of NEASC because they feel that NEASC has been sort of rigid in defending their standards and not been all that willing to, be working with the other groups like the, folks doing Race to the Top and doing, what the PARC assessments, what the core standards are. They have not necessarily been willing to come to the table and try to figure out ways that those things connect. They've been sort of hard and fast that this is what we believe and this is what we're going to use as our standards. So a lot of districts are finding frustration with that. I think you probably
Yeah.
heard that at the Principals Association.
Yeah, and
discussions
we
too.
actually have a committee that's trying to work with NEASC about these things because
Yeah.
we have
Yeah.
conflicting
Same thing with
demands.
superintendent's group.
We have demands from NEASC, we have demands that MCAS put upon us, demands
New
from
park.
the park, and in some cases, they conflict.
Yes. And that's actually happening at the superintendent's level as well. So I think so we just have to, use our judgment on, what we know we need to do right now and, prepare our students for the things that they're gonna be judged on and what they need to know for the college and career ready, status that they all need to have and be able to graduate. Our students, do well, but there are some districts that these challenges are even greater.
I'm not an educator, but it's just intriguing to me, and I'm not going anywhere with it, that NEASC would have this opinion, and the schools, the actual people who are on the ground level making it happen, have this other opinion. That's just intriguing.
Yeah, it is intriguing, but it's food for thought, I mean, sometimes we can
It's
be
not a bad
victims.
thing, it's
Sometimes
just-
we can be victims of, this is the way we've always done it. And
Yeah.
so, we don't necessarily have the most open mind to some things. And, sometimes external things drive you to think differently. And when you try them, that kind of works. But, and you wouldn't do it if something else wasn't externally driving you. So, I think it's something in the middle is like everything else, something in the middle is right. But thank you, Peter, for the detailed, do you want to talk just about the AP scores? Just
Yeah, this would be
before?
the opposite of heterogeneous grouping. This would be homogeneous grouping. These are our top students, and the scores are absolutely amazing. The test is on a scale of 1 to 5, so 5 is perfect. And our scores are well in the 4s for most areas. U.S. history, I have to really take my hat off to Chris DeFranco. This is his second year. I told him he's slipping because last year everybody got a
Perfect
5, and this
score.
year somebody got a 4. So, but there's a lot that goes into good AP scores, and all of these kids have a very solid educational foundation in all areas. So really, all of our staff should be proud of themselves because they've all the way down to the Pearly, they've all played a role in these kids getting these scores. And of course, the teachers that teach AP there's a lot of work for that. So there's a defined curriculum that has to be approved by the College Board. There a lot of training that goes on because there is a technique. AP isn't just teaching more of something, and I'm in AP history now, so I'm just going to teach more history. It's looking at it very differently. It's really high order thinking, a lot of analyzing documents and things like that.
It's the equivalent to a college course.
These courses are the equivalent to a graduate course. So a lot of undergraduate, I'll just take history. I'm most familiar with that because I used to teach it. Though a college freshman survey course doesn't even compare to an AP course. They're very much like graduate history courses that I took. So there's a lot of work, and of course these are the kids that are doing it. So we have it's a result of great teaching and great students. And what's not on here, we actually have a couple kids, 2 or 3 I think, that these are the courses that we offer. And we have some students, and one in particular, that took 2 or 3 other courses that he didn't on his own, and he didn't take the courses. And he got a 5 in one of them and a 4 in another one. It's just absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, without the
Yeah.
Just on his own.
On his own. Yep. So
That's amazing.
it is.
Now, one of the things that our kids don't take a lot of advantage of is, but it's offered, is the dual enrollment. And then one of the other things we've been talking about, whether it's virtual high school or something like it, giving our students the opportunity to, take some advanced placement courses that we can't offer because we won't have the number of kids. But for example, in the calculus, there's another level of the test. There might be kids who need to take that, and right now we don't offer the course. So we're not big enough. So again, it wouldn't happen for many kids, but for those kids for whom it is, it would be nice to be able to have another alternative.
But these scores are absolutely outstanding.
There's a lot to be proud of here.
For sure.
Yeah, it was
for
impressive.
Sure. I'm very impressed. Just
The-
awesome.
These are impressive. Never satisfied with status quo. So Spanish, why might Spanish or in relationship to the others?
That's a good question. That's a question that I've asked. I've looked at our Spanish scores. Have traditionally been lower than our others, and we've had several excellent instructors. We have an excellent instructor right now that's very well trained, and I'm just wondering about how difficult that test is, and
Well, it would also be interesting to look at how other districts do,
Yeah.
just because that maybe we could look at the calibration there.
yeah.
Could we somehow? get
We
a
could
handle
certainly
on that?
take a look
Just
at that. Maybe
take a
Mr.
look at
Umbro
that?
could do a little survey of some local districts, and I think it may also, we have to look at, what the course sequences that our students have taken to get there, I'm not sure. We don't know the factor, but we always wonder about it, because as you can see, it's consistently, lower than the
Yeah,
others,
not as good as the others.
but still,
But still very good.
Still
Still very good.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
I mean, generally, in the world of AP, if you get a 3, a 4, or a 5, that's considered to be good, and it's considered to be passing. Proud. Yes, Julie?
Just a quick side note on
Yes.
the Spanish exam.
Yes.
That's gone under some change as well. This year they're focused very heavily on the cultural aspects
Okay.
of understanding the culture and speaking to that, and that was one of the major shifts that we were kind of anticipating in this
Right.
year's AP Spanish test.
Right, so that means that we have to adjust our curriculum to make sure that the students get that experience.
And the biology just went through the same thing, and it's an absolutely outstanding score on the first time that, you know, we've gone through that new curriculum in biology, so.
I mean, we'd like to see more kids take AP. It's very interesting that it is rigorous, and there are probably students who could take AP and be very successful at AP, but they don't necessarily choose to take it because of the level of work that it is, or they might say, well, I'll take one AP and then I'll take the rest, I'll be honors classes, because I know I can manage that and play sports and work outside
right, it's
and,
hard.
you know, and do all of those things. So, you know, that's something that we're always, you know, looking at.
In picking up on that, in terms of teaching to the future in college
Mm-hmm.
and preparing, how does a student, how do we talk to the students to make a decision? Am I better off doing an AP and getting an average number
Mm-hmm.
versus taking another level and getting an A?
Well, doesn't it have to do with the weight? Yeah, it does, it has to do with the weight.
When you get that level, the students at this level are very competitive,
Yeah,
and
they're
and
very
they have that all figured out, so.
Are they just making the decision based on the point that they get at the end?
No,
Not
a college
necessarily.
wants to see that you take the most rigorous course load that you
That
can
take.
handle.
Regardless of if you get Cs versus a less rigorous
I,
get
th-
As?
I think.
Not every school
If you're
expects
getting a
AP.
C at a higher level, you're probably not in the right spot. But if you're
could
getting
do
a B,
Okay.
you are. It's worth it. So, in my mind, it's the B grade that.
But there are many students who don't take AP classes that get into very good colleges. So
Sure,
it's not
sure,
necessarily the case, you know, I think sometimes a student think, oh, if I don't take the full load of AP, I'm not getting into a good college. And,
Yeah.
you know, I think through the guidance discussions and obviously the discussions administrations have and teachers have with them, you know, they try to work with the student to do what is gonna be right and best for the student.
Yeah.
What percentage take AP?
I would tell you that the average size of an AP class is probably around 12.
Right, so that's
So-
actually small.
Yeah, so,
We have one class generally in a school.
Oh. And what about honors?
I can't answer that off the top of my
So you
head.
could get that
curious.
information,
Yeah,
though,
yeah.
yeah, that would be good information to have.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It's kind of hard to, the easiest, the most accurate way I could answer that, which I can't right now, is by school. Because by grade, it's really, it's hard to do by grade. There's
Yeah,
a lot
but
of
that's okay.
mixed grade courses.
I think that's okay, Peter, though, if you just looked at what's your general school population and
Yeah.
what percentage take AP, honors, and college prep. And maybe below college prep, because you have just a couple of those classes, right, the level,
Couple, yeah.
just a couple, he has a couple of classes that, you know, for students who really need a lot more support.
And for students that take honors and AP, do they usually take like one AP and one honors?
It
Depends on-
depends.
Or do
The
you see
college
them
board
taking, like-
recommends that you don't take more than 2.
More than 2, okay.
And
There's
I would
some-
say
some
that.
that take 3.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, so, it's hard to fit them all in.
The
Well, I've
top
heard
6
that you
kids in the class.
could have 2 hours of homework just for one AP course.
You could.
Yep.
And I just wonder how you do that in an evening with everything else. Like, are
Okay.
you staying up all night?
These kids are very, very, very focused.
Yeah, that's just for that course.
that course.
Because
Right.
those kids
That's right.
probably are in all honors classes, and they probably have an hour, per class
It might be
there.
interesting to invite them, you know, a couple of the kids to just talk
Right.
about
To
how
see
they,
how they do
how
it,
they
how they
manage all
manage
of
their
that,
life.
yeah.
Have
It
them
would
talk
be
about,
interesting.
their lifestyle.
Well, I mean, I interviewed the top 5 or 6 for the superintendent's award every year, and most of them have, at least in their 11th and 12th grade, have taken every AP
Right.
class there is, sometimes 2 or 3 a semester, plus all the honors classes, plus these are kids, I mean, you see, those
Yeah,
of
they
you who've been
do
here, you see
sports
all of the,
amazing how
they're
much
not
they
kids that are
give
just
to
the
their
bookworm
lives.
type
It's
kids,
just
it's
amazing.
really pretty amazing.
They're in our music program.
So it can be done, you know, but it is a lot of commitment on the student's
Right.
part.
Wonder what the happiness quotient is.
I don't know. I don't know. Depends on how you measure happiness, I guess. But that's a discussion for another time.
I understand.
Thank you, quite
Thank you,
impressive.
Peter.
Okay,
Very
thanks.
impressive.
Okay, School, principals,
Thanks,
why don't
Peter.
you come on up? Mike, you come on too, if you don't mind.
Peter, nice tan. Nice tan.
Thanks.
He got it working in his office all summer long, because he was in his office
Only
all
had 4
summer long.
vacation
He didn't have very many vacation days.
It was meant as a
Hi,
call.
everybody. Come on up, Mike.
Can't say anything.
Come on, Mike.
Come on, Mike, come up to the table.
I'm out of runs.
Okay. So, you had a chance to go visit the schools. The principals, you know, can say briefly, you know, how they're feeling about the start of the school year, and, you know, we'll just have kind of a brief conversation, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Margaret, you wanna start? We always start with you, because you have the littlest kids.
That's right. Well, and thank you, Rob, for joining me today on the tour, and of course, Joan. And I just want to let you know, contrary to popular belief, summer is our busiest time of the year, after June.
True.
And especially for the maintenance crew.
Yeah.
As soon as the children fly out the door, the maintenance crew is right there. So first I want to say thank you to Mike Anderson.
Absolutely.
For doing a fantastic job supervising, facilitating, and coordinating all the summer work. And also to Eric Stevenson, Jacob Hamlin, and Todd Stewart. They've done a fantastic job, just from the minute they get in until the minute they leave. Cleaning, organizing, moving, waxing, dusting, you know, just doing anything that needs doing. And also, thank you to John McGee, who's our part-time custodian during the year. He has started back.
Yeah, it's good to see him
And
today.
also, Jack Howland and Brett Moyer have done a fantastic job with the grounds, weeding, you know, raking, mowing, painting lines in the, you know, the driveway, painting outside the doors. And I hope you have noticed that when you drive by, the school is a gem. It's a jewel again. All the doors have been painted green, which I think is more historic to the building. The steps are phenomenal. They've been completely rebuilt down to the last brick.
You don't feel like you're gonna slide down the stairs now.
And the lampposts and the railing have been painted black, so it really is just spectacular. And I love driving in. Sometimes I'll back out and just stop. So I'm sure it's a source of pride for every Georgetown resident. I'd also like to thank my administrative assistant, Camille Early, who does spend her summer registering all the littles, the little pre-K children who are starting, and all the kindergarten and grade 1 families new to Georgetown. And also Barry Belanger for all the work he's been doing, maintaining our technology and infrastructure. As you know, we have a new portable computer lab, so he's been busy doing whatever he does to get it working. And also because
He makes magic. I'm sure he does.
the lab we had was like out of Smithsonian when I would give people a tour. So the programs he had obviously don't work on the new computers. So he's actually designed new programs based on the old programs, and so he's thrilled about that. And you know, so he's been busy. This summer, through our extended year program, formerly known as Pearly Pals, we had 35 children enrolled over a course of 6 weeks, which again is down from previous years, but this was a smaller version intentionally to provide ESY, an extended year for students who need it, and also provide peer mentors.
Remember, we changed the structure this year.
Yes. And once again, we sponsored a summer reading program, which ran in conjunction with the Georgetown Public Library. And I won't know how many children participated until we start school and I get those numbers back. But last year, we had over 60 children participate, so I imagine that we'll be as successful this year. Because of our expanding preschool, Jessica DeTolo's kindergarten was moved upstairs, and all the shuffling, the shell game, the computer lab that was there. Again, as you know, we've dismantled, gotten the portable computers, so Barry is across the hall. Jessica DeTolo is in that room, and she's done a great job making it bright and cheery for kindergarten. The motor room that was also upstairs will move back downstairs and share space in the music room and the gym, and that's where early intervention will be again as well. So not the optimal space, but I keep saying 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Barry Belanger has continued to streamline our website, and I will work with him, again, to make sure that the website is current, up to date, and does provide information to parents, because we are going paperless. I want to remind parents, check our website for the menu, because you will not be getting a paper copy. And this year, the school council is going to work, and it was identified on our parent survey, as I mentioned in the spring, that parents would like to receive information via webcasts. So we'll be producing webcasts and putting them available through our website, which will be all kinds of information: curriculum, our infrastructure, how to arrive and leave Pearly, webcasts on responsive classroom, and just some other short 9 to 10 minute webcasts. And I want to make my annual reminder to parents that parking continues to be a challenge. We're always trying to streamline the arrival and dismissal process. I'd like to thank Peter Durkee, who, with his crew, tore out a sidewalk that was in complete disrepair. It was crumbled, so they took that back. They've paved other areas of the driveway. A small island that was in the parking lot has been taken out. That created expanded parking lot. We didn't actually create more visitor spaces, but we've changed where the visitor spaces are. So unfortunately, last year I had parents knowing to come in, and visitor parking was 1 through 12. But this year, the visitor parking has been kind of congregated down at the end of the end of the parking lot. And because of so many new staff, we've actually filled up. So I am asking again all parents that are listening to not pull into an empty spot, because there's a lot of part-time people, and when they pull in, they really do count on their space being there. So
Margaret, is it going to be labeled visitor?
They're
'Cause
very
sometimes
well, big signs, right,
Okay.
Spray painted another
Okay,
project.
okay.
So they're
great.
different spots.
They're different.
not that first 1 through 12.
They're not all nicely in a
Okay.
row,
I
but
think there's one right by the preschool,
Yeah.
little playground.
they're kind of down, they're spots at the
When
end.
you first drive in?
No.
No.
Like go
On the
into,
other
as they drive in,
What's
you'll
the
see
playground?
big visitor
Okay.
parking.
And are there still
Signage is
12?
not clear.
There are 10 now.
Yeah, they're
10.
big.
Okay.
There are 10,
visitor.
because, again, we need.
You have
But in
more
the, but in the
staff.
winter,
Yeah,
it will,
right. Yeah,
yeah.
I don't think it's-
We should probably figure out how to maybe put, a sign,
The sign
signs,
again.
because I think that in yucky weather,
Yeah, they'll see it.
they won't see it. So if we could put,
Get some signs,
yeah, kind of like we did with the handicap, that really helped.
If I were to sum up in one word what I did this summer, someone said, how'd
Hire.
you do this summer? Hiring.
Yeah, I guess it would be.
With the help of many teachers, I started the process in June and just finished yesterday. So as you know, preschool teachers Pat Chick and Jerry White retired, and while we know there's no replacing them, I have hired very skilled and wonderful new teachers, full-time teachers, Christy Murphy and Allison Ruggiero. And a halftime session was added of pre-K, and that will be Lauren McLean teaching that. Again, as you know, I've added the sub-separate pre-K setting, and I've hired, we call it the Greenhouse Program. I've hired Jennifer Mills, who is she is not, she's young, not new to that field, but new to public school. Then, working in the pre-K, the Greenhouse, and our ASD program, our new assistants, Sarah Murphy, Ashley Simmons, Kathy Conway. I've hired a new adjustment counselor, Amy Wall, and a new .5 special education teacher, Kathleen Gibberti. In addition, I was lucky to sit with Joan, and very happy to be on the committee to hire Heather Torrey with Pam. Finally, we are starting the year with 83 preschool children with a cap of 20 in each session. We have 113 kindergarten children, so larger.
Numbers are high.
So
Yeah.
classes of 22 and 23. And I had 91 first grade children up until about 2:30, crossed it off, 92 children in grade 1, which are classes of 18 and 19. So, as I say every year, we have a busy year ahead. Teachers will spend a great deal of time in professional development, becoming comfortable and familiar with the new teacher evaluation system. We will continue to implement our programs and curricula with fidelity, continue to align the curricula to the standards. Teachers will have an opportunity to participate in the English language arts and the math and science vertical teams with Julie DeRoche. They continue to input curriculum into Atlas, and as well as participate in our building-based committees. We continue to use data to inform decision-making so that we can provide instruction to meet every child's needs. And toward this goal, we'll continue the discussion to find a universal screening for math and English language arts. So the reason we're all here is for children, and we're all as excited as they are to start. So we look forward to next week and a great year.
Good, thank you.
Who wants to go next?
Do we want to have Rob do that?
Would you prefer to comment, make
After?
any comments now, or? how do you-
Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, why don't we do
all
that?
right.
When we're talking about the school.
The school is really clean. It's a great job. I think the classrooms, there's some clutter, and this is not a criticism. It's that there's 2 weeks to go, whatever, and the organization just
Yeah, they're still working.
They're still working on it. So that's just what I observed. I think we want to just double check on the handrail that's out front that was just put in. Just want to make sure that meets code. Just double check it.
Yeah,
Might-
yeah, I guess, yeah, I don't know.
And then-
Did we we must have done the spec, right?
Yeah, I had the building inspector.
Did he look at that?
Yeah. We already had our tour. He
What did you think
did a
was
walk
wrong
through
with
the
it?
school.
Too low?
No, it's the extension of where it goes below and above the landings, but, I mean.
I'll have him double check though.
Yeah, if he checked it, then that's probably fine. Anyways, that was just a question. But then that, and then with the work that was done on the site, with the existing sidewalk that was in disrepair, and taking it out was a great move. But it's raised other issues now for me as an architect with site, and what I'd like to do.
I knew it would.
What I'd like.
When I saw it happen, I said, Rob is not, didn't I say that? Rob is not. What happened?
What I'd like to suggest is that somehow, and the committee should talk about it, that whenever something's gonna happen with the sites of the schools as part of the facilities, that the school committee is appraised of what's gonna happen versus just Public Works doing it.
That would not be surprising, but it surprised me when it came, obviously I heard, Peter's here and Margaret sent an email, I'm like, well, I didn't know that he was doing that, so you would have been apprised if I was apprised. So I think it was a matter of, Peter had his group ready, his committee ready, and.
Can you tell me
next
what
thing
you're
he-
talking about?
He's basically saying that he would have liked to know as a committee that there was going to be, this work was going to
I
be
know,
done.
but
Well,
which
what-
specifically, which work?
Okay,
I've been to Berlin, I'm not in-
specifically, the sidewalk that was in disrepair that's between the parking lot and the moon-shaped drop-off.
Got the orange divide, isn't it now? Did
Yeah.
you see the orange dividers?
Yeah.
That's now a crosswalk.
There used to be a sidewalk.
So the sidewalk's cut out.
Yes.
So there was a sidewalk that had a 6-inch curb, and that provided separation between the parking lot and people cutting through. So when they took that out, which was a great move, what they needed to do was provide for that vertical separation, curb stop, you might say, between the parking lot and people cutting through. By not putting the sidewalk in, you now have a jury-rigged kind of bright orange dividers being used for that purpose. What that has done is it's left now a visual opening. When you look at it, it implies you can cut through where
what you're
it
saying,
doesn't
yeah,
continue.
right.
So it just raises a series of site design issues that are not fully vetted. And I want to make sure that with the facilities, that as a school committee, we are on top of that stuff. Because those are health, safety, welfare issues.
Right, but can something be done now?
Oh,
Like-
yeah, oh, sure.
So,
Oh, sure. I mean, working with it now, what we talked about out there was simply taking those bright orange dividers and extending those to the little island which is out at the street there. So you will now have a complete barrier, not allowing cars to cut through. But it looks like crap.
interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I think we should talk more about that, because I think the reason that it was done was also to manage snow better. And I think it was also to give some opportunity, like, for example, when the middle school drops off,
Yeah.
for example. If you've all been part of that line, right? So a lot of people don't go there because they don't wanna wait in the line, and it's that when they come out around the curbing, they go out into that you know, main road, and unless the police have a police officer there, you know, you got 4 or 5 different kinds of
busy.
traffic coming out in different places. There are, however, some people who live on this end of town. And so the thinking there was, if people dropped off, that there would be no reason why they couldn't come through the circle. No one's there. It's not, there's, children are not there at Pearlie. This is at 7 o'clock in the morning or 7. So that one idea was that then they could come through the circle and go out that way. So there was discussion about that. There was also discussion about the fact that Margaret didn't have enough parking that's why the little island came out. We just didn't have enough spaces. We've walked that space, that parking lot many times, and we didn't have enough in order to get visitors, and it's still a problem. So that's how those were some of the advantages that were perceived through that process.
What if Pearlie, as an example, there are a number of big bang for the buck items that could take place with minor modifications to the existing site to improve all of that.
Well, I think that we should talk
What-
about that, but I don't know if
Yeah.
you want to talk about it tonight.
I don't want to talk about it tonight,
Right.
but to put it on a list where we could talk about that process, I would like
Yeah.
to do that for the committee.
I mean,
For all the
would that be a capital improvement discussion?
I don't know. I'd like to follow up with Rob on it, and we can try to figure something
Okay.
out.
That's fine.
Okay, great.
Might get to go.
Yeah, that's okay. Peter,
School looks great.
the floors look really good.
Yeah, hats off to Mike and Rick Sear and all the custodial and maintenance people. They're the ones that do the work. And I can honestly say that every year it gets a little better. So, and the floors make, the tiles on the floor, anytime we can get some tile and replace those rugs,
Oh, yeah,
it
rugs
just
need to be
brightens
replaced.
up the building, and it just really changes everything.
Looks clean.
And they're
It's very,
shiny, right?
yeah.
I told you.
No,
Shiny.
I was with you.
Yeah.
They're shiny.
I am concerned about the roof. This summer, there's a lot of new leaks, areas that we've never had leaks before. So
Wow.
that's no big secret around here. And the HVAC system is a problem. They're starting to, we had one that the piping in the walls was cracked, and that there are many similar units in the building like that. So that is a little concerning. But the outside looks as good as it's.
They fixed the handicap
Yep,
ramp.
they fixed
Really
the hand in the whole front, and there'll be no more puddles when you walk in, because they raise the bricks, and maybe some puddles inside, but not outside. But the school really looks great, and the guys have done a fantastic job, and like I
On
said,
a short summer.
yeah, and I think it's really over the years we've really invested, put some money back into the maintenance of the schools, and it's really paying dividends, and it shows, and we have to do less each year. So
Yeah, I almost think the air quality in the rooms too, that we went into, that had tiles instead of rugs, to me, just made me feel better. You know, it looks nicer, I don't know, it's
It
just.
does look
Yeah.
nicer.
It's just,
Well,
it is like a clean, bright look, like you
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, I mean, tomorrow, I have to go to a facilities meeting with the MSBA on the middle high school project. And one of the things that they're looking at is what the submission ends up, what the submission will end up being in terms of the project scope and budget. And one of the things that we are discussing with them is the need for the full replacement of the roof. Because the initial discussion was really partial replacement and, patching and repairing, but partial replacement. And obviously, Peter's comment tonight reinforces again why we really need to look at the full replacement of the roof. And I don't really think that's gonna be a tough sell to the MSBA. I think there's enough evidence. I think the other thing the MSBA will be very interested in hearing about, and I think will be somewhat more agreeable to, is looking at the drainage issues, because that groundwater, if that groundwater is not addressed, there's no point in renovating that first floor.
Right.
Because it just will continue to be a problem. The HVAC system is more of a project
That's
and
what
more
I
of a
wanted.
sell. It's not on the list that
It's-
I'm aware of.
It wasn't on the
The
list that
full,
we.
the full replacement of the HVA
Full
system was
replacement, no.
not on the list.
Do you recall?
I don't, that's why I'm hesitant to even mention it, but I know it did not make the final list of now it's on the
There were some
feasibility,
very
it's on
basic
the
elements
feasibility
of it,
study
but-
list. And so one of the things that's gonna have to happen is that the MSBA has been clear that there's a smaller, a smaller parameter on what they're willing in this round to fund. So they're not looking at funding a $14 million project, okay? They're interested in funding the things that we identified initially in the need for the feasibility study and what responds to NEASC and what is needed when the sixth grade leaves. That's what they're interested in really focusing their energy on. That doesn't mean that the things in the feasibility study aren't important, and doesn't mean we shouldn't be dealing with them. It just is gonna require the town to look at a more comprehensive 3 to 5 year plan of looking at capital money, school money in the maintenance department, CIP, the capital improvement is CIP, right?
Yeah.
And maybe free cash, so there's gotta be a longer range view if we wanna fix all the things that were in the feasibility study, and one of them was dealing with HVAC issues. So I think what's on the list, I think, is the HVAC systems that relate to the newly renovated rooms, the rooms that are gonna get renovated. That's where I think you're gonna see the adjustment in the air quality. But I don't think I think the whole thing was not, and the interesting thing with those unit ventilators, which I didn't realize, because we were originally operating from the assumption that they were original
Yeah.
to the building.
Yeah.
But then what we found out was that in the 1997 renovation, all of them were replaced.
Yeah, I should make a clarification because I think we're in good shape with all the univents in the
Oh, okay.
rooms. I'm talking about the air conditioning in the
Oh,
interior
I love the
rooms.
Oh.
So that's not nearly,
That's not nearly the project.
right.
So I don't think that's on the ultimate list, but I know that's in the feasibility study, and I know it's something that we will wanna work with the town on. So,
I think
more
we're in
to
good
come
shape
on
with
that.
the univents
Yeah,
and stuff
all
like
of
that.
the-
We've done a lot of work on those over the last
And the
5 or
EDSCO
6 years.
project actually went in and really made sure each of those were in working order and any
That's
motors,
good, so
anything.
they're not even 20 years old yet.
No,
Yeah.
no, they're not. They're not.
Yeah.
So, air quality is something we take very seriously, we can continue to work on, but it may down the road require that we have a plan in our maintenance budget to really look at how do we replace those over, a period of time, so many per year, or prioritize the air conditioning unit, whatever it is that are those
And we've
priorities.
addressed the auditorium's air conditioning heating is the same unit, and that's
Right.
brand new.
Right, we did address that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we're in good shape there.
That's good. Can I just ask, what were the actual results of the new leaks that occurred this summer? And how are the ceilings looking on the third floor?
They're actually the ones I found them in the school store this year and in the hallway going down into the office hallway. The school store, I had the one tile had a big bow in it like this, and Liz Marchetti, the store manager, was in there and said, when she left in June, that wasn't like that, and it was all mold, and there were a bunch of leaks in the school store and down in the office area.
Yeah, you don't wanna lose the merchandise in the store
I
either,
know.
so.
Yeah, but though we've never had a problem there before, so.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So,
did Lorene and Barbie?
We did. I agree with everything Peter mentioned. I thought the school looked great, the outside, the inside. It was very clean. Just the things that you noted, rugs, could use more lockers could use some painting.
Yeah.
But other than that, I would agree with your assessment.
Outside looks great too.
Yeah,
Yes.
I
Outside
think
is-
by doing the restructuring that we did last year, by taking advantage of the skills and talents of certain people and, being able to, have a designated maintenance guy and a designated grounds guy, the maintenance guy helps them out. Just being able to focus a little bit more on the outside of the buildings has really, again, paid dividends. Yeah, because, people form an opinion when they drive, up to a school and what you value,
First impression.
It's your first
curb
impression, curb appeal.
is important to everyone, including students.
That's right.
Want to take pride in their schools.
Mm-hmm. Donna?
Looks good.
So we've had a busy summer at Pembroke. We want to thank our Warren Young and the custodial staff. They did a great job in the school. Pembroke's always a challenge with the oldness
know.
of the building, but every year that they do a great job. Once the teachers leave, getting everything ready. Also Joan and her staff at the business office, you know, the summer isn't really a downtime for us. We begin ordering all the supplies that we need for September, and so they're processing all the POs, so we appreciate that. And then my secretary, Diane Collins, who only works 20 days in the summer, she's amazing. She helped me redo the whole equipment closet. One of the things we've been doing as a staff is kind of thinking about the things that we don't need, purging the things that we don't need, paper the things, so we're trying to get things cleaned and organized for the moving 2 years.
Right.
So we've been doing a lot of that work. She only works 20 days in the summer, and she welcomed 15 new students, was able to hand out all pickup numbers and 15 new students. So our enrollment's pretty high. Second grade numbers are around 22, 23, but our third, fourth, and fifth, we're up 24s. We're pretty high in those grade levels. So we had 2 new students trying to register again today. So our numbers consistently keep changing right up to the first day of school, we anticipate. We had adventure camp this summer, highly successful. We had a great time. You know, Mike Walsh, Virginia Bergson, and Elizabeth Carroll coordinate that, so that was very successful. And I have to commend the staff. I mean, I think parents don't understand. In the summertime, every one of our staff members were in planning, redoing curriculum, planning for the upcoming year with the change to the Common Core. Every one of the grade levels in 5th grade was working all day today, working on that. We went through all the classrooms tonight with the school committee, and all the classrooms are all set up. Kids' names
they
on
are.
desks. They just do unbelievable work. I want to thank Carol and Joan for getting us new rugs. Every classroom has a brand new rug this year, a 9x12.
They look
fire
nice.
retardant rug, so we were excited about that. We have new mulch on our playground.
Courtyards look great.
And the courtyards look phenomenal. We had some prisoners in doing some work, and they did an outstanding job for us. We just we have 3 new staff members. We have Megan Johnson's new special education. Beth Perkins is transferring to Pembroke, and we have Tyler Polston is our new music teacher, came from Kentucky, and he has
Drove
repainted.
up from Kentucky for the interview.
Oh, my goodness.
He's repainted his whole music area, so
Luckily
it
he
looks
got the
really
job.
nice.
He did. He's great.
So we're excited to have them join our staff. So it's been a really busy summer, and I want to thank everybody who will make the opening successful. We're excited and can't wait to start on Tuesday.
God, it's hard to hear.
I wonder if the kids share that same sentiment.
I think they do.
Actually,
the
parents
parents do.
who've been coming in have been seem to be looking forward to it. Kim,
Yes.
did you have any?
I was very impressed with everything the teachers have done in the classrooms. Every classroom looks very well organized, bright, cheery, inviting. And you know what the maintenance staff have done. I mean, the tile floors are shining. Absolutely, you hit it
like
with
glass,
the floors.
yeah.
Yeah, they're just shining and bright. You know, I noticed the teachers were careful to keep everything off the vents because I know those ventilators are chugging along really hard and they're very important. So they kept things away from there. And everything was great. The only thing I saw that could use a little bit of improvement, we're in the bathrooms, and the bathrooms, they smelled nice. They've been cleaned. You know, some of the little locks to the bathroom doors could be a little, you know, it could be a little stressful for young children who go in there and really aren't able to completely close those. And some of the doors could be painted. There were like some yellow ones with scratches.
Windows and some of the walls just need to be spruced up, but Donna.
Yeah, but everything, I mean, you
It's
know,
really in
the
good
art
shape.
room, the cafeteria, the music room, I can tell the new music teacher is very enthusiastic about starting off his new program, and it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be great.
And we open up the year with a smart board in every classroom. So we're
Right,
excited about
right,
that.
There's a smart board in every classroom. Looking good.
That could be a
And now a portable one in the library. Library.
And when you think
Wonderful.
about how many.
Very
you
well
know,
arranged.
How much technology we didn't have even 4 years ago, in all the schools. I mean, Margaret has smart boards now, and Peter's got some plans for technology and some
Yes.
bring your own device possibilities. So, you know, we have a technology plan. We haven't had, you know, a technology infrastructure really for it, but, you know, we've still accomplished a great deal through the generous support of outside organizations, parents, creative solutions that principals have been able to come up with, you know. It's been a team effort, but there's much more we can do and much more we will do with technology.
That'll be exciting in
It's
the year
exciting.
ahead.
It's exciting to look forward to the future for that. Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Hey, does anyone have any questions about the superintendent's information?
legislative
We'll go to the financial report. Pembroke Air Quality report.
I'm sorry that Mike had to leave.
I know.
I saw that, did someone put this
Oh,
on the
yeah, there, on the table, Laura put, I think
Yeah,
there was a
page
Post-it
that I
note
had a
on
Was the
question
page.
page missing?
Was it, no, there was a Post-it note
That
of a note
covered-
that I wrote, and
Oh.
Laura just, she missed it when
Oh,
she was
copied
writing
it,
it up, so
okay.
there was like a whole big Post-it note in the middle. So it's this page that's on
Oh,
your
okay.
table is the.
And the reason
full
why I
text
thought
of
it was so important was because I think you wrote, what can we do
Well,
about
yeah,
this?
well,
And I'm
yeah.
like, what about?
About
About
what?
what?
About changing the ventilation?
I
the
don't know what
mechanical
I wrote, but
system?
it had something to do with,
It's, this report says they're not operating continuously during periods of occupancy.
yeah.
So my guess is that it's a mechanical control that, I can't recall, I thought Mike said that they could be programmed
Yes.
differently.
See,
Something about rebalancing every
so I
5
had
years?
written, I had
Balancing.
written a note, can we find this out?
Yeah.
That was all I wrote, but it did take away the text. So,
Okay.
they, it wasn't
Yeah.
anything cryptic, like I was trying to hide anything.
Yeah,
It was
no, I
literally my question.
But because
to-
you found a problem, I'm like, oh, I wonder what that's talking about.
Yeah.
I found it a great read.
Right, so there was a complaint that
Yep.
there was a concern, so we did have, I think it was the state that did this was it the state that did this
Yeah.
report? And that really, they didn't find anything. They did find that, our ventilators weren't operating continuously, that's what it says on this page right here, when school's in session. And I think that Mike said that was a mechanical control that he could change so that it was, you know, operating when it was supposed to be. I know that they have tried to make sure that teachers have removed their materials off the univents.
There were no,
Right,
there were no
and-
tennis balls on the chairs.
Right, so, I mean,
Right, I
think
didn't
we've-
see any tennis balls on chairs, no.
So,
I
Oh,
was
you-
shocked at that, that there's a problem with that. Of putting the tennis balls on, I didn't know that could let off.
I'm sure nobody
I
did,
didn't
or
know that.
we wouldn't have done it. Right. It wouldn't
No,
have
of
occurred,
course we
you know,
wouldn't.
it wouldn't have
was
occurred to,
surprising
you
to me.
know.
I'm like, tennis
Yeah, it
balls.
was interesting.
Trying not to scratch the floor, I mean, people do it in their house. You know?
But I think as you read through it, it confirmed for you again why we need a new school. And there should have been nothing surprising, you know, even though the
Right.
levels are not elevated to the point where where they cause a health risk. You know, we are still working with outdated, you know, systems. There certainly are some things there that, you know, will be addressed in the new school, which I think we'll all be looking forward to.
Yeah, no, I thought it was nothing surprising.
No.
Popped out.
Right.
It's nice information to have. Approval, does anybody have any questions about that?
No.
No, okay. Approval of, new revolving accounts.
okay, when I came last year, I was having a very difficult time trying to monitor the athletic revolving account.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I need Julie and Peter for a couple items on the agenda, otherwise, the other administrators are fine. Trying to be giving these signals.
Right,
and
but
poor
everybody
Joan
on the school committee is watching over there, so.
Poor Joan is trying to talk. I apologize.
When I came last year, the athletic revolving account was very hard for me to manage. I had only managed an athletic revolving account for user fees that only included user fees. So when I looked at the athletic revolving account, and Julie would tell me that, you know, we're not, you know, we're gonna run a deficit or whatever, and I'd look and there'd be $20,000 in there, and I was never able to comprehend. Apparently, all the fundraising money for the athletic fundraisers goes into the athletic revolving account, because it's spent at Chris's discretion. But it's not, I'm not able to measure, can we sustain our programs with user fees supplemented by choice, supplemented by budget, when you have all this extra money, like tonight, that $3,300 would go into this account. So, Julie's understanding was that originally it was run through our student activity account.
Right, it was.
And that was the wrong
Right.
mode. So we checked with the auditors and asked, could we create a separate athletic fundraising account, still used at the discretion of the athletic director? But really, our athletic, revolving account will be the user fee and the gate receipt account. And that's typically what an athletic revolving account is. So I just want to segregate out the two accounts, so
Just
as a
tracks it better.
committee,
Sounds great.
as a committee, you can really see,
Oh, yeah.
you know, when we run a report, that the user fees are being able to sustain it, or it's not.
Right.
And we need to rely more on district, or whatever it is. So
Right.
that's the first. The second is, we have we have a district fee-based account and a district donation account, which, those are two separate accounts. But inside those are run through our Munis software. Inside those, we maintain multiple spreadsheets of, you know, photo money and, you know, the fee-based, you know, they pay to do this and they pay to do that, all separate from student activities. Well, Pembroke donation account got so enormous that we were running ledger sheet after ledger sheet after ledger sheet trying to track Pembroke. It became so complicated, and I said to Julie, this is crazy. We could create a Munis account. We could create a Munis account for all of these, but if, for example, if the picture money, they get one deposit when they do the photos, and then the principals spend it sparingly. But for Pembroke, it's in and out, in and out, in and out. It got too cumbersome, so that's another one I wanted to create.
Donna's always got things coming in and out for her.
Every single
donation
meeting, you
accounts.
have a Pembroke donation, practically,
Right.
so.
Yes.
Again, we
Yeah,
checked with
we're
the
very-
auditors,
very
and the
generous.
auditors
We
agreed
keep-
that because this was such an active account, that it would be better to segregate it out just for monitoring and for use.
Mhm.
It'd be much easier to use. So those are the
Right.
two
Yeah, it
accounts
does
I wanna
make a lot of
create.
sense.
Yes.
Okay, well, the chair will
Solid.
entertain a motion to approve the creation of two new revolving accounts as presented by Director of Finance and Operations, Joan Laporta.
So moved?
Second?
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, John.
Welcome.
Thank you.
The second piece is, as we were just discussing, the air conditioning units on two inside rooms. One is a math classroom, the other is our server room. The math classroom had no ventilation and no air whatsoever. We were up there last week. The server,
Oh, we were there tonight.
well,
that
it's
room
getting
was hot,
fixed this
yeah.
week, right? So anyway, at the same time, the server room's not as cool as it should be. I think it's running on one air conditioning unit. So Mike Anderson got a couple of proposals and did his due diligence. The first price we had was $30,000 to replace the two. He was able to find a vendor to do it for $20,000. He only has about right around $100,000 budgeted to him in his maintenance accounts, and it's August, and we're down to about $69,000. So he thought he could legitimately afford to spend $10,000 of that money, not knowing what's going to happen with other issues, roof, whatever. And then perhaps we could use the $10,000 from Choice. We currently have a balance of $85,000 in Choice. So we're looking to, for your approval, you have to approve the Choice expenditures.
That would bring it down
So,
to
but
75.
there's no option. You couldn't have class in that math
No.
classroom. There's no ventilation at all. So it's, either that or we wouldn't be able to use the classroom.
Right,
So.
that's not an option.
No, that's not an option either, so.
And you have to have the servers in a properly ventilated.
place.
And where's this, the middle high school?
Middle high school.
Second floor, third floor?
That's what we were just talking about.
Where's it located?
the math, I
Peter,
think, is
Peter's
on
the
the
service room is server room and the math classroom we're talking about off of the library in the second floor? Where is that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they connected.
Right. So it's in
Okay.
the second floor, was the
Okay.
answer to the question.
okay. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the use of $10,000 from the school choice revolving account for the purpose of replacing two Georgetown Middle High School air conditioning units.
So moved?
Second.
Any questions?
Just a discussion, when you say two units, is that a unit that fits in a window?
No,
two
they're built
separate-
into
yeah.
the
It's-
wall,
it's the
but
wall.
it's also, as Peter had mentioned too,
I just can't-
it's the piping and everything was gone. And that's what Peter's afraid of is gonna happen with all the units, since,
Right.
we tried to repair these units, obviously, and when they went and did, their, research behind the walls and their connections, it's all the way up to the roof we have to connect and fix, so that's why it's so expensive.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Great.
moving along to,
Same church, as far as expenditures are concerned, where does, for example, in the walkthrough on Pearlie, looking at the art room, that's down in the lower level.
Right.
Trying to do something with that. We talked about it on the walk there. Is that just something that just happens within their budget and that they then
Like,
just?
what would you be,
Well, we didn't
We didn't
resolve
resolve it?
because it was
is it
just
the,
that.
is there a ventilation?
No, we were just
No.
talking about like the paint on the
Oh,
walls. and
It's
well, that would be
just-
on, Mike would, we put that on the list.
Right.
And Mike would have that.
So
have it
that
on
doesn't
his list.
require an expenditure per se?
Not generally, I
Okay.
don't believe, I think Mike would, maybe the paint.
Yeah, he would, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
he
mean,
would have, our
We have
guys
our
did
guy.
most
We
of
have
the
painters.
painting.
Yeah, we have some
Right,
guys who
so
paint.
so if that's a project Margaret wanted, she'd let Mike know, and then he'd
Right.
try to fit it into the schedule. I mean, school goes back, but he could fit it into
Yeah,
an
it's a
evening
pretty dismal
schedule.
spot.
It's a pretty dismal.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it used to be worse,
I know,
but
I
it's
remember it.
still, I think it's because there's moisture there.
Yeah.
So, you know, every time you paint the bricks, they're outside walls, you know, the moisture comes in, the paint peels.
They could spruce it up though.
They could, there used to be a crazy floor, do you remember the
I do.
artwork on the
I
floor?
do, I do.
Which was beautiful artwork, but, you know, just painting it a solid color gave you, it's a small room, so you can just imagine the way it looked, you're like, you didn't know where to look. So this, I think, yeah, if that's something that we want done, I'm sure that Mike could make a priority out of that.
And does that, I'm sorry, does that stay with our discussion as we did the walkthrough with Margaret, or do I need to follow up with her on that as we?
Well, did you raise it with Margaret?
Yeah.
And did Margaret agree that it was a
think
challenge?
so.
Yeah, so I think,
Yeah.
We just would, maybe you
Yeah,
could
we
mention it
picked
to
up
Mike.
2 or 3 things. I
Yeah.
wrote them
Okay.
down, yeah, so we're all set.
So it's with Joan now, so
Got it.
it'll get done.
Thank you, sorry, thank you.
Okay. Subcommittee reports, budget and finance.
Budget and finance, we haven't
We haven't had a meeting
had a
yet.
meeting?
But we should,
And-
once the school year gets started, we should start talking again about the budget, what we want the process of the budget to look like. So we can talk about when we really start to build a budget calendar, when do we wanna have the school committee, establishing priorities, how do we wanna do that? Joan, do you have anything else that you need to speak to the budget and finance subcommittee about?
I won't know until all the hiring is completely done and I move all my money around if we have issues that I'm worried about.
Okay.
I don't think we do, but
So-
it's hard to tell until all
So
the
maybe
hiring's done.
shall we schedule a meeting like in mid-September, just to check in where we are, mid to late September?
Do you wanna do that?
Yeah,
now? Schedule a
well, no,
meeting?
I think we should just tell Laura we wanna do that, and
Okay.
she can put some
Okay.
times out for us.
Good.
If you don't mind,
No,
because I
that's
think
great.
we wanna move,
Move
we
it.
get a lot of stuff here left to do, so.
Okay, governance.
We haven't met over the summer, but our plan is to tentatively meet before, I think, every school committee meeting and start attacking the policies and procedures, the ones that we've highlighted that need review.
Okay, negotiations, we met this morning. And we discussed the, job description for the new, middle school department head position. And do we have that?
Yeah, we do, it's on the table
I
somewhere.
didn't see it on the table.
Well, I thought it was on the table.
Because we do have to
Yeah, we have it, and
approve
then,
that.
and then there's another little thing here, just approving this position, which we'll talk about when you get to that place. So yes, we,
Okay, when do we want,
we'll do that when we get to the agenda item. There is an agenda item here, middle school, E under new business.
oh yeah, okay. And that's pretty much what our meeting, focused on, and we do not have a meeting date for future meetings at this time. Public relations.
We did meet a few weeks ago, and we decided, we discussed Carol's rejuvenation of the superintendent's blog, and how you along with Barry Belanger, and somebody was going to try to make a link so that parents who read it could respond to, we like to get information this way, or give you their thoughts about whatever you're blogging about. And then we thought that your new blog would be promoted perhaps in school, the daily newsletter, right, all those kind of things, so that people would know that you're blogging. Again, we talked about another Georgetown local cable access television program that was going to go forward. I think that was
Yeah.
pretty much
Right.
it, right?
Yep. Yeah, and that'll be
And-
reflected in the one of the superintendent's goals for the school committee evaluation, the public relations goal.
Right, and we do not have another date for a
No, we
meeting
don't.
set.
I think, obviously, we're just focusing right now on getting school open.
Right.
And then, unless there's pressing issues for subcommittees, we'd appreciate having a few weeks to focus on getting, school open.
And safety obviously hasn't met. I see,
But we
God
have a-
bless.
we
I
have a
do see
meeting
that you have a
scheduled.
meeting scheduled.
Bless you, Pam.
That's the 12th, I think it said.
It's 13, bless you, Pam.
Excuse me, it's just an allergy. Sorry.
Okay, and what about the school building committee? Robin?
Well, I I wasn't at the last meeting. I was on vacation, and I'm not sure. what to
Their next
report.
meeting, I think, is gonna be, next Tuesday, I think. They were trying to get a meeting together. Wasn't there something on the email today about that, Rob?
There was an email today.
Oh, the night
with
before school.
With regards
Yeah,
to.
They gotta talk about the access road.
The access road, the fire lane access road, which is still apparently not resolved. And frustrating to say the least, but that's another discussion. And so to have a meeting next Tuesday to talk about it and they're gonna talk about it and present what the options are.
Whether they have to, if they're gonna change it, whether it has to go back to Concom. So there's all of those nuances that go along with that. Tomorrow, as I mentioned, a team of our staff, Joan's going, Mike's going, I'm going, Donna Straight's going, because they may have some questions about the SPED programs, in the new plan. We're gonna talk about the middle high school with the subcommittee of the full board of the MSBA, which is called the Facilities Subcommittee. And so we're presenting them, we're giving that group an update on where we are with the project, what's being recommended, why it's being recommended, how does it relate to the educational program that we set up. So we're scheduled for 10:45 tomorrow, and expect it to be less than an hour. And, I'll have more to report from that, at that point.
Okay. Okay, old business, the turf field designer selection. Let me get that. We have,
Barbie, could I just ask a favor of you? Because that may take a little bit of time. Can we just talk about, like, Julie, I just had Julie here for the GMHS vocabulary workshop books. I mean, just to ask if there's any questions about that, so she doesn't have to stay till the very end of the meeting. It's at we're doing
the
a new
last one.
vocabulary program, and she and the department head have been working hard to find the appropriate books. Vocabulary is a major strand in the standards. We want to make sure we're doing a coordinated program. Julie, what else? Do you want to add anything else to that?
Well, we liked the fact that it was very closely aligned to the Common Core, and that it gave students the opportunity to look at words in a number of different contexts. We liked the Latin roots, and the work that could be done with idioms and proverbs. The classical roots section really stood out to us because that's a direction that we're focusing on with our grammar units as well this year. So we saw that as a nice tie-in to shore up all of that work within the new frameworks. So we felt that it was the best fit in something that we thought could stand the test of where we want to go with 21st century skills. Students have the capacity to get online and use a lot of supplemental features. They can use their phones to take quizzes, and some of the work that we're trying to incorporate within the context of the high school is already embedded in this program. So we look at it as a good way to link those different capacities up that we're trying to do this year. So we liked that.
Definitely, so the school committee policy around any new curriculum that's going to be adopted is that you basically discuss it at a meeting, and then that there's a window until the next meeting where, if you want to actually review the curriculum, I'm sure Julie could get me a copy, and then I could make sure that you have a chance to review it if you care about doing it at that level. But it requires a 2-meeting process for adoption. So it says vote here, but we wouldn't be voting tonight. We would be voting at the next meeting. And certainly, we didn't ask Ally Veer, the department head, to come, because obviously Julie can answer the questions. But if you wanted her to come, she would certainly come to the next meeting. But I would not be asking for a vote tonight. I would just be asking for you to, get information
Consider it,
tonight.
learn, yeah.
And then, be asking for a vote at the next meeting.
Can I get a copy of it
Sure.
to take a look at it?
Yeah, Ally had a copy, yeah.
I have some in my office.
Yeah, so if you, if you don't mind Julie getting me a copy, then Barbie can drop by. I'm sure she's gonna come in for some matter of business.
Okay, great.
Okay, so that's that.
Okay.
And then,
Peter, too?
and then if we can move Peter too, I think he'd appreciate it. I'm talking about the middle school department head discussion.
Yep.
Okay, so, and then everybody's good.
Okay.
All right, so, on your table, is a, potential memorandum of agreement. As you know from our previous conversations, this is not a, position in the current contract. So when you want to add something that is not in the contract, school committee is required to negotiate a memorandum of agreement, or a side letter of agreement, it's sometimes called. And it's something that both parties sign off on. It does require a full school committee vote. But we obviously started with a negotiating subcommittee. This morning, we met with Joe Patella, the union president, and Mike Murphy, the vice president. And Barbie and Lorene joined us by conference call. And, reviewed a potential agreement, of which we feel we've reached. But we want to obviously give the committee an opportunity to ask any questions or express any concerns they might have about it. In this memorandum, basically it summarizes the duration we're looking at 2 years. But we do want to have a review process to determine whether or not it does make sense to continue it in year 2. If it's not working, then we of course wouldn't do that. The work year would be 184 days, which is, the teacher work year is 184 days, includes professional development days as well as the 180 school days with students. There would be 4 days in the summer, consistent with what the language in the contract currently says for department heads. Just for those of you who are brand new to this, the high school does have department heads in English, math, science, social studies. They are expected to be 6 through 12 department heads. People who teach outside of those core areas don't have a department head. The principals and assistant principals take responsibility for meeting with those departments, but they don't actually have a designated content person that, meets with them on a regular basis. So what this position is this is, at the middle school, this is someone who sits at the table at the level of the department heads, working in coordination with the content department heads, but reporting directly to the principal. The assistant principal is responsible for the day-to-day operations of the school. This person would not be doing discipline. This person would not be, usually working with parents. This person's job would be to be a department head. So if you look at the structure, you have the middle high school principal, you have the assistant principals, then you have the department heads. So this department head would fit in with the content department heads. And then, of course, you have the teachers. So the way we're looking at it is these would be the job duties. These job duties have been reviewed by Peter, have been reviewed by the union, have been reviewed by the middle school assistant principal, and we're all in agreement that these are the ones that we would want. The first one was the discussion that we had with the union having to do with supervision. They were a little concerned about that. And I think their biggest concern was that the department heads that are in content, most teachers, if you're a core content teacher, have somebody already. So you're dealing with the principal, the assistant principal, and a department head. Now, what was going to happen was, now were the middle school people going to have another person that they had to report to? That's a fair question. So in order to be consistent with the job descriptions in the contract, and to avoid that duplication of effort, we talked about having the person be responsible for 5 teachers, which is kind of consistent with the department heads. Some have a few more, some have a few more, but they would have 5 middle school teachers. But these teachers that they would work with would not have a content department head. So it would be probably somebody that does music, or somebody that does tech ed, or somebody that does foreign language at the middle school level, so they wouldn't be interacting with high school teachers. And that would be obviously assigned by Peter, so we didn't specify it because we want to have Peter have the flexibility, but they wouldn't be expected to supervise any more than five teachers, because in the contract, there's actually a little formula, a little mathematical formula, and it is keyed off of how many people you actually supervise. See, basically, the middle school isn't a department, so that's why we had to find something that was consistent. So if we kept the consistency is in the number of people that are supervised, right? Then we didn't have to worry about creating another job. Some people suggested, well, maybe we should call it a middle school coordinator, which in and of itself isn't a problem, but the other coordinators we have in the district are the special ed coordinators, and they're not union people.
That's different.
They're outside of the contract, so we didn't want this to be outside of the contract. These, just to reiterate, this is a person that is a teacher. That is their main job. It is not an administrator. This is on top of their teaching, and in lieu of that, they get basically they get an extra period that they are responsible for doing department business. So they might go in and observe the people they're observing, or they might be coordinating with other teachers, but they would get that, or they might just be preparing the budget, or whatever they have to do. But that extra period would be consistent with what the department has to have. So in lieu of compensation, for compensation, I should say, not in lieu of, compensation would be a stipend of $5,500, and we calculated it off of the formula in the GEA contract for 5 people being supervised. And then obviously there's additional work that they have to do, just like the other department heads have to do. So it's not, the stipend doesn't come just from the supervision, it comes from the other tasks that are required that a department head, the ones obviously on this list that we've listed. And
Carol, can I just
yes,
ask you a
of course.
question about that?
Yes.
I thought this morning the calculation was, I thought it was 4,700.
No, that's what it was for the supervision. But remember, we agreed to the 55 because there's
Well,
all
yeah,
these other
I remember we
duties.
agreed to the 55, I'm just questioning
You're
the
right.
difference.
The 4,700 would be
Yeah.
just for the supervision if
Okay.
we applied that formula. But because it goes beyond just the supervising of 5.
Okay.
So this is what we're recommending. If it's approved tonight by the committee, Peter would be interviewing tomorrow so far, and if you remember, I put something out to the faculty talking about this position. I've worked with Joe. He's going to waive the 21-day posting requirement, and the goal here would be, if this is approved by the committee, that we would hire somebody like right away, because there's trainings we want them to go to that we're providing in-house around the teacher evaluation document. And we don't want the students to start the year, a class of students to start the year, one period with a teacher that we're then gonna make a change with, because this person's gonna teach one less class. So we
So
wanna
the schedules would be
assign the
impacted.
teacher day one,
Right.
the students day one to the teacher they're actually going to have. So there's some time sensitivity to it. And I'm looking at this as a transition position. We're going to the different administrative model. That's gonna take some trust building and some time. We're also looking to move into a new model, perhaps in 2 years with a change. And this person would be able to help with that transition and those discussions. And even Joe Patella today, when we looked at the list, I think maybe Barbie asked the question, like, what of these things are done now and to what extent? And Joe said that, these are all important things, but they're not really done to the extent that they need to right now. And so, the union obviously feels that this is a position that's warranted. So, I urge you to support it and take a vote tonight if you're prepared to do that, to allow us to move forward so Peter can interview the 2 people who have expressed interest in this, and then make his decision, and we can move forward with it. Anything else you want to add, Peter?
I think we covered it.
If we made you stay, I wanted to give you the opportunity to at least weigh in if you had wanted to do that in any way.
Does anybody have any questions about it?
What happens if the 2 candidates
Don't want it?
don't work out, or
Oh.
they're not the ones you want?
well, we're going to hire the most qualified candidate. So, I mean, it is an internal position. We would not put someone in the position that wasn't able to do
And
the
you're
job.
confident with the
And-
two
and I
applicants?
think
Well,
that
they're both the candidates are very well
strong,
qualified.
they would be
That's
qualified.
okay.
Yes, yes.
All right.
Good. Okay, so
All right.
I'm just gonna, make a motion to,
It's in the notes, I think.
it is?
That helps you. I thought it was. Maybe
It does
it's not.
help.
Maybe it's not.
I didn't think it was.
Maybe it's not. Let's just say before I.
Oh, here, yeah, the motion isn't in here.
You can reference the.
Okay, so the same thing, just, if we just say
Approve the
to
establishment of
approve the
this
establishment of the middle high school department head with a with a stipend of, just say the stipend, I think that would probably do it, Barbie.
Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to establish a middle school department head, with a stipend of $5,500 for the, upcoming school year, with it to be reviewed after 1 year,
Right,
As.
as,
as
yeah.
presented.
So moved.
Second?
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now you
Thanks
can go.
for staying, Peter.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Barbie, for the flexibility in
Sure.
moving those items up.
And we'll go back to the turf field designer selection?
Yes, that sounds perfect.
Okay.
I would just like to say one thing about the RFP. I sent it to you in draft form, and Rob and I touched base quickly as we were rushing here from Pearly School tonight. There are still discrepancies in the comparative evaluation criteria. So it is still in draft form. This is the draft I received from Mike Farrell, who had pieces of different of things. And if you looked at it closely, there's comparative draft evaluation criteria. One set it looks like was done by somebody, and then there is additional. And I don't know if that's old language that was in there before. I went through and cleaned up what I could see quickly. I got it on Monday, and I tried to give it to Carol for
Yeah.
the packets for
Yeah.
Tuesday.
We're trying to stay on the
Yeah.
timeline.
So I don't know what the solution is, but I know there are still discrepancies here that need to be cleaned up. And unfortunately, the four of us have never met in a room all
Right,
together.
right, that's the
So we
problem.
keep getting emails back and forth of different versions of
Which is
things.
a hard way to conduct.
It's very hard. It's
And
very hard.
because it is a
And Rob didn't have a
timeline,
chance to
there's
see this until right before
now,
we came. So I wanted to clarify that. I left it as a draft initially because I didn't put dates in. Because it dependent, if the school committee approved it, then I have to go back and count out how
many
far,
days,
when
yeah.
central register you can advertise. And so, in my opinion, before I talked to Rob quickly, it was just, didn't include dates. But now if you look closely, you can see that there's duplicate information for the evaluation criteria. And I'm sure it's not a big deal to clean up. I don't know if the school committee can vote on it without cleaning it up. I don't know.
Well, if they, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
You're
Just the
wondering if they
concept that,
vote
could we
on
just
it,
vote to approve the
obviously pending the
to send
approval.
out the RFP?
Yeah.
But,
I don't know. I know it's time sensitive, but I'm just wondering if we did, if you think it's doable to have one that we can review for the September 12th meeting to approve.
if we could get all four people in one room,
I think.
I have no problem with getting it done.
I think, Joan's in a tough spot.
Yes.
She's
Very
been,
tough.
she's been doing an incredible job trying to pull together disparate groups and real lack of communication. And, I just wanna back up so that the board knows, some of the history, where at the last turf committee meeting, which was a long time ago, a subcommittee was established to put together the RFP, RFQ. Time went by, and after not hearing anything from anybody, backing up, Joan had put together for that meeting at the turf, she had put together a mock-up template draft of the RFP, RFQ at that meeting. And then at the turf meeting, the subcommittee of 3 people was formed. Time went on, not hearing from anybody, started to put out feelers to try to get input from the subcommittee about the proposal. Not hearing back from anybody, I took it upon myself to try to move it forward, and I completed the draft, and I put an awful lot of time into it. And I also put together a spreadsheet of outstanding items that we still needed information on. For example, the attorney, town council, really needs to take a look at this before it goes out. And that was just one of the list. Then Carol, thanks goodness, stepped in and tried to pull together the subcommittee to get us to resolve this, because I said, here it is, folks, take it, do something with it. Nothing happened. Fast forward to today, Joan at the last minute got something from Mike, and I'm looking at it tonight for the first time
But
because
that's
I
not
was
the one
away.
Rob sent?
Pieces of what, it's pieces,
This
just
is-
pieces.
This is not what I sent.
Okay.
And I started to go through it, and there are things in here that I have some basic fundamental questions about. So, if it's possible, and I also included a schedule in here, and I don't have that information with me, but did that schedule allow for us to have a meeting, the subcommittee, get together, hammer this stupid thing out, get it done, and then come to the committee on the 12th for approval? Does that still fit within the schedule of that overall?
Well, I don't understand I don't know what the full schedule is. I mean, obviously, if that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do, right? I think the initial conversation we were having at that committee level was, we wanted to get everything to the school committee. That, in my head, it was always at the August meeting. Because remember, at
We were
one point, we
shooting
were
to the
talking
August
about the
meeting.
July meeting. And I
Correct.
said, I don't think you can
That's
do
not
that.
gonna happen, yeah.
So they said, we figured we had the whole summer, right, to get it to the August meeting. And then there's this timeline, which I don't know because it's not my world, like when it goes into the central register. And I think the discussion was, we want to have it reviewed by the attorney, which is why Mike was involved as the chief procurement officer. But obviously, despite my best efforts and other people's best efforts to keep going back and forth, like
Summer
Rob said,
can be
it
a very
just didn't
hard time.
happen that it all got together, and summer can be a very hard time. So if the plan needs to be that it comes by September 12th to the committee, then the subcommittee really does need to meet, because I am worried about, the target is to try to get this thing installed in the spring.
Yeah.
We've altered our sports schedule. I mean, we've made, accommodations for it. And I don't know off the top of my head, once the school committee approves it, then there's a time that it's gotta be posted, the central
Yeah, it's-
register?
There is time, but
2 weeks that it has
Only
to be.
2 weeks.
Right, but
But
then they
we
have
also-
to have time to develop their proposals.
they need time. 2 weeks is typically plenty. I wish I had my stuff
Yeah,
because
I
it
know.
laid it all
The
out.
schedule,
and
yeah.
it laid this
So,
timeline
but
out.
just thinking in your head, Rob, just
Yeah.
knowing what you know.
Yeah.
If the middle of September, there was an approval,
Yeah.
let's just say.
Is
and then
that
by
assume the
end-
attorney, our town council is signed off on it?
I'm assuming that.
Okay,
I'm assuming
so
that.
that gets worked
I'm
in there
assuming it
somewhere.
comes to the school committee.
Okay.
Ready to
and
just
ready to be.
Okay.
Okay, so if that's the case, then that would mean that, posted in the central register,
Yep.
so by, let's just say generously, the end of the first week in August.
September.
I'm sorry, well.
End of-
October? End of the, I'm, October, sorry.
October.
I'm
Okay.
thinking, why are they confused? Now I realize, the end of October, the first week in October, its little process in the central register is concluded.
Yep.
And we're starting to get, proposals.
Yep.
Right?
They have
So
2 weeks.
So they have 2 weeks, so that gets us to the mid to end of October.
You can tighten that up and you can require 7 days.
Okay, but let's just say the typical process,
Okay.
right? So
2
now
weeks.
we're almost at the end of October.
Yeah.
We're at the end of October.
Yeah.
So that's when so then we say at the end of October, by November 1st, we hire an engineer.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So then the engineer then
How long does it
takes,
take for you to interview the people that?
I don't know, it depends how many people we get.
Yeah,
The way
right.
it's
I don't think November.
well, and the way it's structured, or the way it was structured, was that it's up to the discretion of the committee, the selection committee,
Yeah.
turf committee, to interview people if
Right.
they want to.
Okay.
Because the way it's set up is it's an objective analysis as much as possible versus a
Right.
subjective analysis of
Right.
the qualifications, so
Right.
that there's just a running point total.
Right.
That everybody's got like a score sheet.
Yeah, that's what we
And-
did with the
And then,
designers.
with
for
any
the
luck,
project.
one pops to the top.
Yeah.
And if not, you got 2 or 3 that pop to the top, then you bring those people in to interview. But that,
Good point. So, but
Yeah.
let's say that. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, let's say we have somebody hired by, you know, early November,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Then, again, I don't know what the process is, you know, once the engineer gets this project, what happens to allow it to literally be installed in the spring? I don't know if December, January, February, I just don't know how
I've
many
seen,
months.
I've
Installed
seen,
in the spring,
I've seen
when-
worse schedules.
April.
You've seen,
I've seen worse
you've
schedules.
seen worse, that's
Because,
good to know.
because November gives the designer 3 months, November.
Yeah.
November, December, January, February. His drawings are done, and
Yeah.
that gives, then they go out to bid, and they come back, January, February, they come back, February, they come back early March.
Okay.
Select, interview March, April, they start construction in the
Okay,
spring.
so that could
But,
still work
I mean,
perhaps.
it's.
Tight, it's tight.
And you're talking about the field needs to be ready to play on by when?
No, that we were hoping to do the construction in the spring.
That would happen.
And so you think that can happen?
I
That's
think-
still
I
our,
think-
that's still our goal.
I think that still is there.
Okay.
Well, and what are the other
Okay.
options on
Possible.
this end? We could approve it tonight?
No.
Or, no, I didn't think so.
You really can't,
You know, it doesn't
because
sound.
it's not at the
no,
stage where
It's
it's
not-
ready for.
I wouldn't recommend
We
it.
don't approve it.
Definitely not.
Or what would you think?
I didn't
It
know that,
needs
I didn't
more
know
work.
that school committee had to approve the RFPs. They didn't
Oh.
approve RFPs on other projects.
Well,
No,
I
that's
think-
true. But I think we've wanted with this project to,
it's one of the questions I have, which, you know, it says the town, I don't know, it says this goes, the town design selection committee will make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen.
It's canned language from him, though. I mean,
Well,
that's
I
what
know
that
that's
is.
canned, but I had it to the school committee.
no, it is to the school
It is
committee,
the
because
school
Mike was
committee.
very clear that this is a school project. Remember,
Well,
we had that conversation at
that-
the.
that's what I mean, so.
Yeah,
So-
it's not ready, it's not ready.
But so what I'm saying there, though, is that if it's a school committee at that level, it has to be our vote on the RFP. I mean, somebody's gotta sign off on it.
Could we hold an emergency meeting in a week?
I don't know that's gonna be ready.
Yeah,
Because we have
I
to
don't know.
send it through
Okay.
legal
It
counsel, I
still
don't
sounds
know.
like we could do it, but the 3 people that are on the subcommittee, is there a way that if they can't come together, that we could send it out to the other staff members saying, these people can't get together, we need to get this?
What I would.
Can somebody else?
Well, I think the people
Well-
on that staff committee that came to the table and that were people who had experience
Yeah,
with
I
this.
do
What
know
I-
that,
what I would-
but-
What I would recommend is that if people, they are given the opportunity to attend a special meeting to resolve this thing, and if they can't attend, that's fine, and the people who can, finish it.
Finish it, it needs to
Okay.
get done.
Just move it
Yeah.
on, and the people who are there to finish it are qualified.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So is resolving the content,
There's some basic
It's
content in there that's
criteria- it's the
different.
criteria.
There's-
That was the biggest thing. is
It's
the,
sloppy right now from,
Oh,
look at the
it's-
text, I mean, the text doesn't even
I
match.
agree.
I think-
I wish you could have seen, well, whatever.
Well, anyway, we should look at what Rob designed, because, you know, if it meets the criteria, then, I mean, that's the difficulty with this process. It would have been nice had we, you know, had a week before
Right.
this meeting, where we could have had that conversation and said, look, we're going with that, you know, this meets the criteria, we're going, so we could have approved it tonight. I mean, back to Joan's point, I don't know what the law says about whether or not the committee actually has to approve the final RFP or Q. You know, I don't know whether the school committee has the ability to designate somebody like Rob with the expertise to work on it, and then when it meets the criteria based on the professional standards as he understands it, you know, it can go out, and the committee would be informed in the next meeting, this is the RFQ that we put out. You know, again, I
My
think it's
experience in the-
I think it's what the
I think it's what the committee,
requirements
but I know that, when we did childcare in Beverly, we had an RFP for childcare in our schools. The school committee, did not approve the RFP. We wrote the RFP, we sent it out.
You approved that
They
the RFP would
awarded-
be developed.
They,
but-
right.
Maybe we can
They
approve that
awarded
it's
the
gonna be developed.
contract, the school committee approved the recommendation of the superintendent to award the contract. They never even looked at the RFP.
I mean, it's probably because I bring you stuff and give you the opportunity to vote on it, whether you really have the responsibility to do it or not, because I think
Sometimes
it's
it's
just good
staying on
for
the
you to
safe
know.
side. It's-
I mean, I think it's important for you to know, and again, you know, I kind of agree with what Jonah's saying, because we develop RFPs for, like, we developed RFPs for the stairs. You know, we didn't bring the RFP to the school committee for the stairs. You guys approved that would be a project that we would want to see taken care of. We had that on our maintenance list. So I guess that's the question, you know, how comfortable would the committee be with not approving the actual document, approving the fact that maybe Rob would be willing to help us on it, because he obviously has done some initial work and it is his field. You know, and we could certainly send out the draft, or send out the document to the committee via email, so you see what's going
Might be a
out.
good idea. I
But-
think you need someone to really drive it and then bring it back to your group.
Right.
I've done
That-
a
and I
ton of
think-
RFPs,
Yeah.
and I can't apply what I've done to this because it's such a different project.
Yes.
Although, this just looks very funny to me.
Yes, it is.
The way
Well, I
it's
think-
structured, the
I
way it
think what
flows.
happened is that there was the one I developed way back in May or whatever. And then the committee really wasn't pleased with it, and I have never written one before for
Well, it's a bit-
design
it's like an-
services.
it's like an
Right.
art
So,
to write
um,
these.
Yeah, you have to have experience.
the town administrator is the
Chief
town procurement officer and has been trained to do this. So I took a step back and thought, well, Rob's got the expertise. Sandy has the expertise of writing the DPW
Yeah.
for another town. All the time she writes them.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, well, they're the experts, and then it would go through. And it somehow looks like perhaps Rob sent stuff on to the town administrator, and he manipulated the data, changed some of it, but then incorporated it into my old document.
But then,
that's how it
but then
looks.
gave it back to Joan.
Gave it back
says,
to me,
Now it's
and-
yours.
Right.
So I think
Right.
it's clearly a communication problem and a procedural issue. So what I'm wondering about is, you know, would the committee be comfortable with, you know, like Rob said, a small group of people, you know, being invited to the meeting, getting together, whoever is there with expertise. You know, we drive the process. We make sure the attorney reviews it, and
Town
then
council,
we
that
do
legit.
what we would normally do, which would be to post it in the central register, because we don't want to do anything that's going to, you know, jeopardize the liability for the town. But we wouldn't necessarily know that anyway. You know what I mean? I don't know that any of us sitting here, with maybe the
Right.
exception of Rob, would have the expertise to know in a project like this whether or not everything that was included, in every safeguard that was included. We do need some kind of legal opinion, I
Well, I
think,
was
on
gonna
this.
say, that's where your legal.
Right, so that would be
people
the
will get
coverage
into-
for the committee.
Right.
I think what the legal, what I'm looking to the legal for is to make sure that the RFQ is consistent with mass law.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that we're not asking for something that is against the law, or
Right,
that you
right,
cannot ask for,
right.
or vice versa, that we're not asking for something that we should be asking for.
Right.
And that's what the town council will do.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's what they should do.
I don't know.
What I would suggest to the board is that we need to have this smaller meeting regardless of what the board wants
Right,
to do.
exactly.
And it's almost like take that and
Yeah.
we need to have this small meeting, and who shows up finishes this, and then that's that. And then whether or not it comes back to the board on the 12th for an approval or just for information.
Well, that's the thing, do we wanna say right now whether we're comfortable just having the subcommittee, whoever can attend the subcommittee meeting, go ahead and do the RFQ?
And have legal review
And
it.
obviously legal, right, and us not saying, okay, we're putting it in the subcommittee's hands, and we'd like to see the final,
Right.
you know, document, but not necessarily as a committee approve it. We're giving you, like, you and the subcommittee to go ahead and do that.
Right.
I think the only challenge you're gonna have is, I think writing RFP questions in a group
Yeah.
is very, very
Right.
challenging.
Well-
I think someone has to write them,
I-
reformat the whole thing.
I already
And
did.
present
He
it.
didn't take Rob's,
I
he didn't just
already
take
did.
Rob's thing, and it sounds like he cut and
I-
pasted.
Right, I think someone's
I'm
gotta
gonna
take
go-
a step back to take a step
I'm
forward.
gonna go back and take what I did, which is exactly what you're talking about. It was done.
Right,
And it
and,
was
and
all
we
one
present
person.
that and
And we
let them
present
react
that to the small group, right.
Right, cause I
Correct.
actually just read through a few of these, I even think it's hard to answer some of these,
Mm-hmm.
just
Yeah.
the way they're presented.
Yep.
I
Yep.
agree.
Okay.
So that would be consistent with the process we've used in the past for development of other RFQs, is the committee establishes the need for it. And then usually it's the business office, the technical people in the business office that develop it. But I think we would want to take advantage here of Rob's expertise and the expertise of Sandy and, you know, people on the staff committee that have that expertise. Design it and develop it, and then have it reviewed, get it out when it's ready. Put it in the next school committee packet for the committee, or we're happy to email it out if you feel that you would prefer that. And then when the process comes to the point where we're at the point where we need to entertain who's going to get the award, that's when the school committee would take a formal vote. You would have to be the ones who award the contract. So if you'd be comfortable with that process, then, you know, we could make that a priority to kind of kickstart that thing and get it going.
Can I suggest that we, however, I don't know if you're the point person for this communications or not with this subgroup, but, or you, I'm not sure who,
Well,
but.
probably a combination of us.
can-
Haven't been
can-
too successful lately. I've been pretty vigilant, you know,
You've been
so.
very vigilant, Carol. Can we make a point in the communications that what we're gonna do is we're not gonna start over?
No,
And that
yeah.
what we're gonna do is, we're gonna start with the draft that was completed by Rob, and
Yep.
we're gonna work from that.
Yep.
And the questions the outstanding questions Excel spreadsheet that I had.
Yep.
You know, bring that to the table as well.
Yep.
So that the people coming know that,
Yeah, we'll send that out in advance and go over
do that process again.
Yeah, I mean, is the
Yeah.
committee comfortable with that? I just wanna be
yes,
sure.
yes.
Okay, if you are, then I think that's the process we should use, and we'll be sure to keep you in the loop on, you know, what we're doing on it, but
I
I
and
think that would
will-
be great, cause I think that would allow us
It'll
to
speed
stay
it
on
up,
a timeline that, you know, will result in us being able to satisfactorily get where we need to
Start
get with this
construction in April.
project. And I do thank Joan and Rob and, you know, others have been willing to, you know, to work on this. I know it's not like we don't have full-time jobs, right? But this is an important project, and I wanna be
Wicked
sure.
important.
But I just wanna be sure that it can get done, and it's gonna be great for the
Wanna
town.
stay on track.
And, I just wanna stay on track, cause, you know, we don't wanna be in the situation where
But
we
do
can't
it
get it done on
properly.
time.
Do it,
Right,
you
but we
know,
can't get it done on
legally,
time, and
properly,
then
in the best
it has to
possible
go into
fashion.
next fall, you know, because
Right.
that's gonna affect, you know, 2 sports seasons. It would be better if we could do it on the timeline we agreed to. That's great, thank you very much. Okay.
So moving on to new business. At our last meeting, we held an executive session regarding Superintendent Jacobs' 2013-2014 compensation. We did not come back and vote on it in open session, so I just would like to take a formal vote at this point. So the chair would entertain a motion to approve the superintendent's 2013-2014 compensation as a 3% increase over 2012-2013.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, well deserved.
Welcome, thank you.
Deserve it.
At this time, we'd like to graciously accept a donation, parent donation at, this one is at Pembroke. Do we also
Is
have
it
a
Pembroke or
Pearly?
Pearly? It's
Well, I have-
Pearly, it's the
The one I have right here is Pembroke,
Oh,
in the
okay.
amount of $1,500.
Oh, okay, that's,
And that is a anonymous,
yes.
donation, which again, it just goes to show how generous our families are in all of their
Unbelievable.
donations to the schools. So the chair will entertain a motion to accept the $1,500 anonymous donation with gratitude as presented.
So moved.
Second?
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Much gratitude.
Do I have the Pearly? Is that the same?
The Pearly one was in front of it.
Okay. An anonymous donation in the amount of $600. And that's at the Pearly School. So the chair will entertain a motion to accept the $600 anonymous donation with gratitude as presented.
So moved.
Second?
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you
I-
very
I-
much.
I know- I know we all say that, but I just also wanna say it again. I mean, it's just, it's really.
unbelievable, isn't it?
Really appreciated, respect.
It is.
respect.
This community is very invested and supportive of its education and its youth. It's very moving.
It is. DocuSign. We're gonna talk about that.
I didn't know it was on the agenda. Just
Oh.
found it in my packet.
Oh,
I think Julie talked to each of you about this, did she?
She talked to
Yes.
me about it. So what,
And she sent an email, I think, that described the process.
Right, it was
and-
suggested to her by the town.
Yes.
And she's been struggling to get
Yeah.
school committee members to sign. They said that this was a legal and valid way that she could do
Mhm.
it. And did she set everybody up? I didn't follow all the details.
I think
I have it.
You
I
haven't set up.
haven't approved anything.
Yeah,
but
using
she-
it, but she did set
Exactly,
you
she
up.
sent it over to me and, you know, you could see it just like you would be reviewing it in her office, which is pretty neat.
what are we approving?
The ability, I believe, to use that as an instrument to sign the warrants if
You
you're
could
not
sign the
available.
warrant
You're not available.
online
The only
versus-
question that I have is, does she know how much it is? I know it's a free trial.
I know, that's what I said. I'm looking at
that's
it
my
saying
only
it's on the
concern.
agenda.
Now I'm like, oh, the free trial, okay, well, if we approve it, and then all of a sudden we get billed this,
Yeah, I think if you have questions, I mean, I don't know that this has to be done tonight.
I know,
Right, and I didn't
think-
know
I
it
mean,
was
you
on
could
the
put it
agenda,
for
I would
the-
have gotten that
Why don't we
information.
put it on for the 12th?
okay, so we'll
We should
table
have that
this.
information.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll
I mean,
table that.
But if there are
Yeah.
particular questions that you have,
That's a great
it would
question,
kind
Barry.
of be good to, if you could just drop an email.
To Julie?
Yeah. or to Joan.
Could, if you do it to Julie, could you copy me so
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
can know what she's telling you?
Why don't you do it to Joan?
She,
And
actually, it was
CC and
suggested by
CC
the
Joe.
town, that's how it came up.
Yeah.
And I think she was,
Great
you know,
idea.
Yeah, I
sweating
mean-
bullets one day, waiting for someone to come, and she was sharing that with somebody at the town hall, and they said, you know, there is another avenue for
Yeah.
get signatures, and then they sent her the information, so
Yeah.
I will find out what it
So let's
costs.
find out a little bit
Yeah, I
more,
will.
and if there are questions in particular, just
Yep.
email Joan and she can help facilitate that.
Okay, so we did that. Warrant approval? Okay, that's the DocuSign. I'll table that for next time. We did the job description. Homeschool families. We had a list of them.
You do?
Yes.
Yes, you do. Right, and I think we included the homeschool policy, so I know some
Yeah.
of you are fairly new, so just so you know what our policy is, it's more for your reference than anything else. But the school committee is required to, Donna Straight, by the way, is the one whose office oversees these, and she does a really good job. She reads the plans, she raises, questions. She and I have had conversations about what she has the parameter to do. What can she and can she not do if she doesn't approve something, does she have the ability to reject the plan? And, so there are certain things in the law that are required that you have to include in the homeschool plan. And this is the list of the people that, we need to do formal, approval for.
Okay, so the chair will entertain a motion to approve the 2013-2014 list of homeschool families as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have some surplus materials.
All we have left is the surplus materials. As part, it said, we're sort of purging everywhere, if there are things that are, some things are really, really, really old.
It's a good thing to do.
Yes, it is.
We're gonna try to sell
Purge.
these desks.
Yeah.
You know why? They're not that bad.
They're not awful, yeah.
It's just that the Pearly School teachers really wanted to go to tables. So we have a lot of desks, so Mike and I are gonna try to sell them.
Yeah.
That's great.
They
That's a
might
great idea.
provide
Yeah.
some other place with some great desks.
Absolutely.
But they're not brand new by any means.
No, but you never know, if someone has to quickly put a classroom together for, an additional classroom and they don't have the money, it's
Get some
late,
salvage from it,
Right, I
yes.
mean, they're okay,
Yeah.
they're just not new.
Okay, will the chair will entertain a motion to declare the list of furniture items identified by Mike Anderson as surplus to be disposed of by proper protocol as presented.
So moved.
Second?
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and we already did the vocabulary workshop, we
Yep.
discussed that.
We're good.
Great, so,
Oh, the only other thing, Barbie, is this one item
yes,
here.
earlier, yeah.
And this is a pretty quick little one. This is the one that has to do with another memorandum of agreement. This time it's not with the GEA, it's with the Support Association, GISA. And they're in the last negotiations, there was an employee who, when they were looking at adjustments to the salary, they really forgot about her.
Yeah.
You know, and this is really something we should do, given the job she does do, and then the raises that some other folks got. I mean, it puts her, you know, it doesn't put her on par with people who she should be on par with in terms of pay. So I'm just asking that you would agree to this memorandum, authorize Barbie to sign it, and we get Katie Laguerre as the president of GISA to sign it, and then this would allow us to move forward and adjust the pay of this position. I would appreciate it. I think she would appreciate it as well.
You know, how would I do that?
Just say the chair would entertain a motion.
Yeah, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement between the Georgetown School Committee and Georgetown Education Support Association
regarding the
position of elementary library media technician.
And adopt the recommended salary adjustments.
Okay,
Salary scale adjustment.
Adopt the recommended salary scale adjustment.
Yep, that's it. That's all you need to say.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
know she'll
Need to sign
greatly
this too?
appreciate. No, I don't need to sign it because the contract is, I'm sort of your advisor. The contract is always between the school committee and the union. I don't need to sign it.
Ready. So, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Thank you.
All right.
Good night,
Hey,
everybody.
good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
What time are we leaving? Tomorrow?
Oh, Joan, come on, you're a morning person.